Shire for this winners finals.
That's right. I'm trying to remember which of the two teams has the better win rate. I don't think this is either of the two teams' best map. We know that Cloud9 Maelstrom really likes Blackheart's Bay, so that will probably be their pick when they need to try to win that clutch match somewhere in the middle of the series to take that advantage. And I think the best map for Temple Storm is Cursed Hollow, so probably a map that's pretty neutral for the two teams. And we'll have to see. Both of these teams are very well versed in the Lost Vikings, which we haven't seen too much on this, and especially Blackheart's Bay when that is picked as well. I'm just trying to think of some of the more odd picks that we might see on Dragonshire. Maybe Hammer. She was nerfed a little bit with the HP in terms of HP gain per level and her base HP, but still no stranger to this map. She's able to siege up really well, get a positioning with those mines, and just hold shrines really well, and at the same time push those bottom lanes strongly.
It's really interesting to think that Hammer has been so rare in this event in the last few days. We used to call this Hammershire, and it's just a bit of a shift in the meta. Yeah, she saw a small nerf, but mostly just a shift in the meta. People just prioritizing other heroes like Jaina. Jaina has become incredibly popular here in this meta, and it's going to be interesting to see what kind of bans we see. In that last series, it's turned over to be the Zeratul Kerrigan respect bans in every game after 1 and 2 happened.
They showed the strategy once to say, we're not letting that happen again.
So we might see something similar, but for the first game, very likely that we'll just see the standard, like maybe ban out ETC, maybe Rhaegar, maybe Illidan. But the draft is about to begin. Game number 1 on Dragonshire. Here we go.
All right. There it is. Rhaegar, Illidan, ETC. I think those are the very likely first picks, and or first bans, I should say, for both teams. Rhaegar, no stranger to that.
No, he certainly is.
And there's the Illidan.
Yep. All right. So,
and you're right. This is feeling out the teams. They don't know what kind of crazy strategies they're going to bring to the table. We've seen Sonya leap with Divine Shield and whole bunch of just crazy strategies moving forward from both these teams, and the first pick immediately going on to ETC.
It is indeed, and wow, well, Temple Storm. They've got plenty of options on the table now. We saw them run that Divine Storm or Divine Shield, last night, and it had some pretty good success. So we'll see what they opt to today, but that first pick, I mean. You don't want to really show your hand quite yet. Something like Tassadar is very likely, so Vala being scooped
Vala
up
also makes a lot of sense.
And Jaina.
Jaina, yes. Jaina actually ended up getting banned out quite a few times by Temple Storm, if I'm not mistaken, in that last series that they played against 2ARC, which was very close, again, down to Game 5. So strong damage output selections for Temple Storm in the early part of this draft. Cloud9 Maelstrom now has the option to scoop up early, strong support picks. Could be in the form of Uther, maybe Malfurion, and honestly, if they grabbed both of those, that would just leave Lili, which Temple Storm is known to be comfortable with. So now that I think about it and talk through it a little bit, perhaps trying to snipe away a healer pick is not the best. So likely we will see them grab some damage. Okay, they proved me wrong immediately.
Wow, this is very interesting. We've almost never seen Brightwing picked up this early in a draft, especially in the current state of the game. And that means they really like Brightwing and prioritize her. I think we saw them play a lot of Brightwing last night too, in situations where she's almost like the 4th pick for those healers. You know, we don't really consider Tyrande Tassadar to be primary healers. They're kind of in the middle of the road. And Brightwing, she's always, probably
two of their games yesterday, they did play Brightwing.
Yeah.
And they actually grabbed her somewhat early in the draft too. Not quite, the second pick, but. So that's their niche healer that they feel comfortable with. Temple Storm, of course, we've seen a couple games of Lili as well. So not something that I was expecting either team to try to steal away from each other. They just wanted to build around their composition and just have that comfortable feeling moving forward in the draft. Very, very likely that we will see some damage. What is the best option? I guess it will depend if they want to try to secure one of the lockout heroics between Zagara and Zeratul. Neither of these teams are strangers to running those heroes, or they could go for Tychus. They could try to go for Tyrande if they want to get that lockdown. A lot of options available.
Yeah, that is very true. But Maelstrom, they're thinking hard about it. This is Dragonshire. We saw, okay, it's gonna be Falstad. This gives them the option for lots of mobility. All 3 of those heroes have that global presence: the fly, the phase shift, the stage dive.
That's a really good point. That is absolutely a great point to bring up. The 3 heroes, really the only 3 that have such
except for Abathur, who is really just kind of not played anymore. Even though we've seen some love in this past patch, and he could come back into play. Don't think we'll see that today, but Double Bribe also
Double
a thing.
Bribe, yeah. These two heroes together is very reminiscent of the meta that we had seen, I don't know, I guess like 3 or 4 months ago or so with that burst. And yeah, you're right. Double Bribe has shown its strength in the past. I would fully expect to see, if anything, perhaps some heavy aggression in the bottom lane. Actually, now that I think about it a little bit more, we have seen teams also rotate heavily between the middle and the bottom lane. Typically, it was to pick up Conjurer's Pursuit stacks, but you can also get a lot of Bribe stacks.
It's actually huge. Yeah, now that you put that out, because the waves are staggered. The middle lane always reaches first, and the bottom lane comes a little bit later, and they're so close together. That's a huge thing to point out, but they're going for Uther, Tyrande. This sets them up for the potential for Stitches or Diablo with a ton of burst on the receiving end. A very aggressive pick style will likely be seen by Tempo Storm.
Yeah, you have to consider Hammer of Justice into Lunar Flare, Jaina throwing down Blizzards, Cone of Colds all at the same time. That target's going to die.
It's a bad time to be on the other end of that.
Plus Hunter's Mark on top of all that. It's insane. So it's very possible for Tempo Storm to get a very aggressive start to this game. Cloud9 Maelstrom's style is looking a little bit more to soaking lane and really trying to capitalize on that bribe. I have a feeling that is going to be a very large part of their strategy.
All right, well, they're thinking hard about this. They have to have a response for that incredibly aggressive style. We've seen Zeratul and Zagara for disengage be very popular by other squads. We know Cloud9 is very formidable in terms of using both of those heroes.
I think Tychus is a very likely pick, and then you're right, we may see one of those disengage style heroes. I've got a feeling it's going to be Tychus Zagara. They could also... Oh, Tassadar hasn't even picked either.
That's actually
crazy. And I was thinking, okay, who else has a healing ward that they might be able to grab Tyrande off the table? So we're likely to see, I would say, Tassadar, probably either Zagara or Zeratul. That's if I had to put a bag of flips on it, that's what I would do.
I owe you a bag of flips already.
Yeah, you do.
Let's not talk about that.
We slept in way too late to go get flips. Like, we need to sleep. We're going to be up.
Got to be rested for these sick games.
Yes,
and there's
we
Tassadar.
do.
No surprise there. They are down to their final pick. What's damage dealer? You mentioned Tychus as a strong option. I would have to agree. But there's still many big things on the table. We talked about Vikings. Very strong hero. They haven't been played a lot this weekend, but I think if there's a map to bust them out, we've seen Cloud9, we've seen iDream playing those Lost Vikings, and just his ability to control the experience. They already have ridiculous global presence that leans to even more of that global presence across the map.
That's right. Oh, we haven't even been talking. Okay, there's Zeratul. I was expecting, one of those lockout heroes. Is it Stitches? They're gonna run the classic composition pull hook into Lunar Flare, Hunter's Mark, Jaina blow them up. Like, they have the 3 pieces if they want to go for that. Stitches not having the greatest amount of success in these games post patch.
Right.
Still very viable.
Yeah, he certainly is. Diablo's a good option also. They both work in the same kind of sense, but Stitches, the hook, of course, is a bit more of a threat, I would say.
Yep. The very last game of the set between Tempo Storm and 2Arc, they ran the Diablo-Tyrande combo to great success. They came off a very strong early game advantage due to that. They were following up and rotating around the map very well. And I think either of those 2 heroes could work well.
Yeah, it makes the most sense, but they might have something crazy planned. We'll find out very soon. They're down to just their final 60 seconds here in the draft. Look at the bonus pools. I mean, each of these teams just making sure they think about this as much as they possibly can, because this is the winner's bracket. Winning in this best-of-5 series will net you a guaranteed spot at first or second place and the advantage of only having to win one more series.
Very good point. Yeah, that bonus pool is ticking down. What is it that you suppose is the biggest difference between the two? Is it just you think they're discussing how comfortable they feel, trying to support this role, or are they looking heavily at what's available on the Maelstrom side and how they can counter it?
I think Diablo is more of a bully. Stitches feels like a little bit less like in your face. Diablo is just an instant. Like the hooks are a little bit harder to hit, but the Shadow Charge flip is more guaranteed, I would have to say. So this is definitely a composition that just, as they're roaming between that middle and bottom, especially if they're trying to get those bribe stacks for both Falstad and Brightwing, it's going to be a scary time with that kind of roam available on the side of Tempo Storm.
Absolutely. We're giving the go-ahead to the players to get this game number 1 underway between the Tempo Storm and Cloud9 Maelstrom.
And man,
these two juggernauts have not played against each other in some time.
Yeah, it's true, but every time they play, it's insane.
It's
actually
always
ridiculous.
When they played in group stage, it was week 1. Tempo Storm won convincingly, but they were going through some roster changes.
Yes, that's actually true. That was when K1 Pro and iDream had just been swapped on Vortex.
So they haven't duked it out in ESL, the group stage. Since that point, I'm trying to think if they've played each other in tournament. They didn't play in Titan Arena, I don't think, right? No, because they played against Complexity in semifinals, lost there, and they played against Vortex.
And they faced in Kings once between now and then, I believe. And that was an insane series. Every time these guys face off, it seems to be at the end of the event because they're two just top teams here in North America.
Traditionally, over the past 4 months, if you got to pick 2 teams that really have shined throughout the tournament results, it's these 2 teams. And it's very fitting to see them in the winners finals duking it out. I can guarantee you this will be an incredible set between these 2 teams.
So excited.
I know. And they, like I was saying before, you can really feel the tension with all the teams. They're trying super, super hard. And like some of the other tournaments that we've casted, like, or even some of the matches in the group stage, obviously they're taking it very seriously, but this is on another level. You can feel it. And like how crisp everyone is playing. I just love it. So good.
Well, right now we're just waiting on one player to get into the lobby. It looks like he had some computer issues, had to do a restart. So it'll be just a brief moment before we do get started.
Was it Bicep? Okay,
we're missing K1 Pro right now.
Okay. Because we know that Biceps actually had some connectivity issues.
That's true. That's a good thing to
hopefully we don't see that. That is a big shame. Of course, we don't have a pause feature in the game just yet. We are still in closed beta. Functionality has not been added. So, yeah. Soon, though.
Well, it looks like the ready up is here from Cloud9. I think both teams are ready to go. The game should be starting. Here we go.
Who do you guys like between Cloud9 and Maelstrom? I want to see some voice in the chat right now. Who's going to win between Cloud9, Maelstrom, and Tempo Storm to take that advantage into grand finals?
We will find out in just a moment. Dragonshire, again, first map of the day. I see Tempo Storm logos blowing up in the chat already. Guys, here we go into game 1. Best of 5. 3 games are required to win.
That's right. And
this will secure you a spot at least $1,000. If you win this series, you're guaranteed $1,000 for your team.
So good. That's a good chunk of change. I think that's probably been the highest first place.
I believe.
Not quite positive, but even so, that'd be crazy if the second place is even comparable to what we've seen in the past.
That's true.
For first place. But enough of that. Enough talking about money. We got games to play. Let's get to introducing these teams on the blue side for Tempo Storm. We have Dreadnought playing Uther, Soldier on Tyrande, KO will be playing Vala, Glaurung on Diablo, and Arthalon on Jaina.
Look at them wiggling all over the place, just getting their nice pregame tactics. I approve. But on the other half of the map, we do have Cloud9 Maelstrom with Dunk Train on Brightwing, iDream on Zeratul. It's going to be K1 Pro on Tassadar, Biceps playing the Falstad, and King Caffeine rounding it out on ETC. That is Cloud9 Maelstrom, and this is game number 1 of this best of 5 series.
No double bribe, but what we do see for Falstad is the increase on updraft, which is buffs the range of barrel roll by 30%. We did see that speed buff on barrel roll. It also has a reduced cooldown, 4 less seconds on the cooldown for barrel roll. So they're feeling that's the strongest option now.
Well, I mean, not necessarily the strongest option, period, but looking at the pick style that's available on the side of Tempo Storm, that's just reactionary. They want to be very safe, getting that Falstad out of those situations as often as possible.
Good call. Good call. Greater Cleave grabbed for Zeratul at level 1. That's just going to increase the radius. That will help them to catch more targets with that, especially with the wormhole later on in the game. Level 13, you can hop in, throw that Cleave down, pick 2 targets to throw that Singularity Spike onto, and then back up. Gives them a little bit more safety. We've seen block there. We've seen regen, master, etc. So just a preference. At least that's how it feels to me for the Zeratul players.
Yeah, definitely. Well, we can see that the roams are real, and they've used the prescience or the Oracle on Tassadar to just make sure that they have vision, and they're just continuing to roam around. But Maelstrom is playing very safe. They know that these roam and ganks are going to be real, and they're just doing their best to stay safe, soak their lanes, and just not get blown up early in the game.
Glaurung and Soldier have not shown yet, and they're actually trying to leap forward. Wow, knocks him into the wall. That was perfect spacing. Are they able to get the kill? No.
KO has just about under 10 health from that aggression. Really close call there. That means they're not soaking the top lane right now, and that will net Maelstrom a little bit of bonus experience in that situation.
So much aggression for both teams. I really love to see that, just bringing the pain. So nice. Yeah, in the bottom lane, we actually saw Diablo pin Falstad up against the wall. The positioning was flawless, and then the flip into the Tyrande Hunter's Mark. Almost. It brought him down to about a third HP. Not quite enough to get the kill. And actually, Jaina falling in the mid lane here.
I mean, Tempo Storm has this Roman gank composition, but they say, you know what, we got Zeratul, we can do that too. And they're just trying to find any, heroes that are left alone, like Jaina, like Falstad in that top lane, to put that aggression on, because they're more than capable of diving in.
So we have to keep this in mind about how these teams, or what the teams are really known for, strategy-wise, in terms of their playstyle. Tempo Storm is very well known for, I guess, not having the strongest of early games, but man, do they make up for it in the late game, and even making some ridiculous comebacks, some deficits from 3 levels down, going into the mid and late game, and still making ridiculous comebacks. So. Cloud9 Maelstrom has to keep this in mind as they move forward, and perhaps not get a little bit too overconfident if they find themselves with a lead over Tempo Storm.
Yeah, well, it's actually very true, but Tempo Storm putting on this aggression in the bottom lane. They found Dunk Train. The Hunter's Mark will go down, but no Lunar Flare connecting. Dunk Train will end up falling in that situation, so Brightwing going to be out.
Tried to use the phase shift at the last second to get to any of the other teammates that would have probably kept him alive. However, yeah, they were able to dish out enough damage to pick up that kill. So we're looking at a 1-to-1 kill ratio right now for both teams. No one has taken a dragon yet. We're splitting the shrine pressure at the moment. Glaurung, Dreadnought, and Soldier having that presence in the bottom lane.
And yes, KO just has to be constantly mindful of the Protoss brothers that might try to end his life at any moment. For Ire just to blow him up, and Arthlon going to be able to trade out a little bit. He has the safety of Tyrande and Diablo. Lunar Flare will connect on iDream. The stun coming from Uther, and it's going to be just enough to pick up that kill. Okay. We even saw the animation of the blink coming out.
That is exactly what happened to Falstad in the bottom lane. They're obviously very good at sweeping up. Diablo is from that bottom part of the lane where they still have that the cloak from the grass, and pinning them up against that tower, getting the flip, and the Tyrande Hunter's Mark and Lunar Flare is always on point.
It's a lot of synergy. You can tell they've practiced this time and time again. And just looking at level 4, Jaina does have the Envenom. We do have the healing word from Tyrande and double amplified healing. That's the power of keeping this team alive. With Uther now having that talent available, it's going to be very nice having both Uther and Tyrande on that team.
Absolutely. Now both of these shrines have been picked up and are being contested right now by Cloud9 Maelstrom. Arthlon posing presence in mid, and there's a heavy rotation bottom lane for Tempo Storm.
But KO needs to be careful. The phase shift coming from Brightwing. The polymorph does go out, and the dash forward. Wow. The blink used to help body block. Very nice kill onto that ball in the top lane.
Kudos to both of the warrior players at this point in time. They're really picking up the kills with big plays, positioning, and just making sure that they get in between people where they think they're safe. They're standing like right outside of their gate, and they're still getting punished for it, which is crazy. People say the Warriors are weak right now, but I don't know, I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing it.
Just the power to bully, the power to put you out of a position or put you in a position where you're just not happy anymore is real. And I mean, the kills are just so even, 2-2 at this point in the game. Levels are almost dead even, and not a single Dragonite has been able to be picked up.
It's bottom lane. Biceps, almost pinned against the wall. If he had taken just a second longer to get around that tower, could have found himself dying, because he just used barrel roll too, so no escape forward at that point. But was able to get out. Still heavy rotations from both teams. I really like this aggressive style, and just amplifying how important positioning is. KO once again in the top lane, just able to vault through, and Dunk Train almost able to rotate up. Is the punishment going to be there?
The Lunar Flare combo with the Blizzard, picking off Brightwing very convincingly.
Yeah,
that precision strike, or the...
what's crazy is that he was able to cleanse himself and still got ruined. Just goes to show you how strong this roaming combo is.
Yeah, Hunter's Mark, man, it just really ruins lives. And look at that, the Sentinel just providing some information as to where the two Protoss players are. Mr. Tassadar and Zeratul getting revealed. Jaina rotating down. It needs to be careful. She needs to stay in the backline at all times. The Zeratul aggression is definitely something formidable, and you have to be cautious.
All right, let's take this opportunity perhaps to talk about some of the talents that have been picked up. Of course, Cleanse on Brightwing. We talked about that a little bit. Void Slash on Zeratul. Zeratul, no first aid.
Yeah, that's actually surprising considering the aggression available.
So not going for the safety. Deep shift, I see that, the extra extended dimensional shift by 1.5 seconds. When you pair that with prescience and
he's so hard to kill.
and the dimensional shift upgrade at level 16, that is, it's almost impossible to even guess where the Zeratul, I mean the Tassadar is going to be at any point after having popped into that. Level 10 has just been hit. We do see the Divine Shield.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Seeing Divine Shield again in all different kinds of compositions. This isn't even a dive composition. This is just simply, hey, look, my Diablo's going to die, my Jaina's going to die, whatever. No, they're not. They're actually invulnerable for 3 seconds.
It's working as a nice substitute for Ancestral Healing, which is often getting banned out. Rhaegar is.
Yeah. So it's really exciting shift here in our meta for Heroes of the Storm. But man, there's so much damage on the other side. And when you consider there's an Archon, a Hinterland's Blast, and a Zeratul on the other side, you're going to want that Divine Shield. And Dunk Train taking a lot of damage, Cleanse is not going to be enough.
Doesn't matter. Each time he's been hit by that, he just doesn't have the movement speed or you know, the movement options to get out. No barrel roll. It doesn't have the vault. And so Cleanse or not, he's still getting blown up so fast with that Hunter's Mark.
Cameron Pro just patiently waiting in the bushes. The kills starting to go in the side, in the advantage of Tempo Storm. Diablo in the front line. He's looking for more opponents to just blow up.
We saw that there wasn't an attempt to kill Cameron Pro there, especially with that extended dimensional shift.
But KO will fall.
Yeah, that's the second time now that he has been caught out of position by the ETC and Zeratul rotation in the top lane.
That time, though, the cleanse worked out for Brightwing. The Shadow Charge came in, wasn't able to get the flip off because of the cleanse, and was able to get away from that situation. Nicely done by Dunk Train, putting the kills 3 to 4, keeping this game very even, and both teams just about level 12.
It's so weird to see two compositions that are getting so much value off of rotations and picks, and they're picking each other apart
constantly.
Not the gank squads picking or fighting at each other. It's just they're out rotating each other. Just, you know, ships passing in the night, going off to kill members of the other team in opposite lanes. Crazy how this works out. They're so crisp with that. It's every single time.
If that was a cereal, I would purchase it.
Oh my gosh. Get your crisps, everybody. Eat your crisps. All right, so yeah, but it's weird. So it's just been a ton of rotations, but no big team fights. And we can expect to see that on a map like Dragonshire because so much of it comes down to splitting your team up and making sure that you have control of the shrines, right? So the fact that we haven't seen any large attempts at big 5v5 team fights, this may persist into the very late game.
Yeah, and it looks like we do have Tempo Storm trying to contest this top shrine. They are doing that, and wow, Dreadnought was sitting on that. I'm very surprised that K1 Pro was unable to do that, but I guess the zoning was real.
Yeah, he happened to throw down a Psystorm onto the wave just as he went up and saw that both shrines have been capped. Pretty big deal, and of course he didn't have the second strike. It's not level 16. Oh, and another pick onto Dunk Train, and they are...
Oh my goodness, the shields came out from Tassadar, and Emerald Wind just keeping him alive, allowing Dunk Train to back up and tap the well. Very, very nicely done, but still the Dragonite pressure is here, and there goes another flip, but that time, Blink over the wall.
Yep. Very, very impactful still, though. They're putting a lot of pressure on. This is forcing heroes to go back, and they still need to keep soaking in the other lanes, but at this time, Tempo Storm is continuing to take tons of...
Oh, wow, just the Falstad rotating up with that Hinterland's Blast to pick up the kill. Like you mentioned, ships passing in the night. They keep rotating around, killing each other. Looks like Dunktrain's going to die. No, we're actually going to go kill KO. It's stage dive going in onto Soldier. This is a terrible position. Face ship going in, not even needed, picking up that kill. This Dragonite is now in an incredibly poor position, and Dread will just have to walk back and use it defensively.
By picking up that kill on KO top lane, and then rotating down to get this with the stage dive, the kill onto Tyrande, that essentially nullified an excellent defense.
And we're talking that global presence.
Yeah.
They killed someone in the top lane. Two members immediately rotate down through their global presence and kill another hero. Huge plays.
Let's talk about some of these level 13 towns. We do have the prescience, like we mentioned. The wormhole for that extra mobility. Big one is Giant Killer. Not having the rest of this be an auto attack style build. Usually we see probably either the shield on Lightning Rod or even the extra hits of Lightning Rod are doing extra damage. Right. So interesting to see that. We do have the sprint. Sprint plus Emerald Wind is such a strong combo, and it allows you to really control the positioning in the fights. I like to see that combo thrown together. For the Tempo Storm side of things, we do have double sprint just to make sure that those really squishy targets, that being Jaina and Tyrande, can get out of those team fights, out of those bad spots if they find themselves there. Extra range in the Shadow Charge is just going to play even further into the combo. and Spell Shield for Uther.
That's just this, there's a Zeratul in the enemy team. That alone warrants a Spell Shield. And I like that pickup. Now, this is a very aggressive posture. It looks like Cloud9 wants to collapse. Hinterland Blast doing a lot of damage to both Soldier and Arthlon, those squishy targets, and that Apocalypse is used so well to help zone. K1 Pro has Hunter marks on him. The increased duration on that dimensional shift is going to be allow him to get out of that in a huge Void Prison. 3 people inside that, but do they have anything to actually follow up?
No, it's really just to disengage. Yeah, absolutely. The APOC was good, and they really were so close to killing Jaina early on in that fight. She was able to sprint out and still get another couple of hits down. The Tyrande combo with Diablo, even in the middle of that fight, was still on point, and that's how they were able to isolate and take out that Brightwing. So trade real quick, but having taken these Giants really gives them a lot of pressure in the bottom lane, and they're able to clean up and take a fort, take that structural advantage.
Well, Zeratul is waiting for this top shrine. 2 seconds until it spawns. Bottom shrine, Tempest Storm well in place, and they are going to start on these bruisers. Both teams have hit 16, and let's overview those talents, Goobs.
Yes, we have that Benediction for Uther that's just really playing into his utility that allows him to reset the cooldown on perhaps his Hammer of Justice or even get burst heal. It's a very flexible ability to pick up at level 16. Yeah, Arthlon having to throw down that Blizzard to keep himself safe. What else do we have that's of interest? We have the Imposing Presence is really just going to get a lot of its value. Some of it on Falstad, of course, but mostly Archon. It's going to slow down that attack speed in the Archon form to 50%, which is quite a bit. It's considering that's where most of its damage comes from, and he didn't end up taking that bonus damage. On the flip end, Biceps actually is able to barrel roll out, but with the strafe, that is going to be more than enough damage. And still a really close game. Kill 7-6, and super close in experience. Just that one structure, small structure advantage for Tempo Storm.
But man, I mean, we've already seen a lot of picks coming from the side of Cloud9. Oh, Arthlon by himself in the top here. Dread not going to be able to help him out. Has the Sun's Dunk Train, even using Sprint to try to get aggressive. I like the use of that cleanse, but the flip stops the Emerald Wind. Emerald Wind on a 10-second cooldown. This puts him in a rather vulnerable position. The ice block, the ice from the Jaina actually picking up that level 16 talent, coming into play, rooting him for the 1 second, securing a kill.
And now iDream overextended. He's rotated to the mid lane, does use Blink to get out. Actually, the Owl was going to be enough to isolate his location.
And that's a Dragon
This might be enough pressure, yes, for them to back up. K1 Pro would have to extend a little bit too far forward to throw down that Side Storm to stall out the Dragon.
Yeah, I mean, if that Emerald Wind got off, that fight could have been a lot different. But Dunk Train getting picked off very early. King Caffeine in the front is their target. The Lunar Flare does not connect. King Caffeine just walking right forward, and that's going to be a disengage here for Cloud9.
Take a look at iDream's positioning. He's just sitting next to this wall back here, and they all walked right by him, didn't notice. He wants to have this position in the back line to try and pick off members of the enemy team that are weak. K1 Pro also hiding.
Glaurung suspects this. There is the stage dive from ETC. KO needs to be careful. The Hinterland Blast with Overdrive doing so much damage to KO. The Apocalypse not going to be enough to zone. And Emerald Wind disrupting the rest of the team without the damage from Vala. This is going to be so hard for them to take, but they do have that Dragonite. Dragonite providing just a overwhelming presence, kicking out the false head. The AoE damage, the single target damage, it's enough to peel, and fighting in that Starfall is far from an ideal in terms of Cloud9's position.
I think Cloud9 Maelstrom just needs to back up, take the advantage that they have. Are they actually going to be able to get this kill onto Soldier, sprinting out? Dreadnought also finding himself quite low. Biceps getting punted out by Arthlon in that Dragon Knight. Dreadnought having to throw the Divine Shield onto himself. The Lunar Flare, it's actually not going to be enough. iDream now having to blink back. Glaurung now caught out of position.
Yeah, the body blocks are real.
So real.
It's so well done, and that is going to be a death on Glaurung. Dreadnought actually keeping him alive with that ghost for a long while, but no, not going to be quite enough, and Arthlon needs to be very careful. Popping that Water Elemental. Blizzard going to pick up a kill, but no, he will be trading in that Sentinel, not going to follow up, and Maelstrom, they take what looks as a disadvantaged position, making a very strong case with the sneaky Zeratul in the stage dive.
Absolutely, and the fight started off so well with the Hinterland's Blast. Like they're picking the right targets. They're hitting Vala every time with that. And even the fight previous, it was Vala Jaina. But nice cleanse actually. That was a big difference between as to why Glaurung wasn't able to grab ETC to throw him into that Lunar Flare. Probably wouldn't have been able to get the kill on King Caffeine, but got to keep in mind his mana's low. Dunk Train's mana is really low. The ability to heal, to throw out, to keep King Caffeine alive might have been a little bit dicey. So nice play there. Heads up with the cleanse.
Sentinel's just scouting out those offensive bruisers to see if that's what Cloud ends up to. As soon as that passes in the night, it looks like K1 Pro is just going to make his way to the top lane. Now, bruisers are available on both sides of the map. That's just about it. But just kind of looking at these talents, I mean, the Overdrive and Criterize have really started to change the playing field quite a bit.
And Biceps has died a few times, but right now he's sitting on 4 stacks, and the ETC, yeah, I was going to say, just disappeared off my screen.
Oh my goodness, that
wow,
global presence. They all went in. Brightwing, ETC, and Falstad all flew across the map, stealing those bruisers. I love that global presence.
That's so good, and they really are just playing it out to a team, making sure that they're taking all the advantages that they can from it. Honestly, that the heroics and the utility of those two things in team fights is not that strong. It allows you to get good positioning in the backline, but honestly, if that's all you're doing with it, you're going to find yourself falling far behind, and you need to make plays like that where you're at least pushing across the map so that you can get back in with that stage dive, or even stealing bruiser camps like we just saw. Better yet.
Right, and they have this map pressure. They have giants in the bottom lane. They just pick up their own bruisers. Templestorm had to spend time to clean up these bruisers, and the Templestorm will be up in just 1 second.
And they put themselves in a good spot, although Templestorm has a very strong position for this top lane. They're going to trade Shrines out for now. Actually, all this happening, still Templestorm has the EXP advantage. There's not going to be a timing attack for them, but they do have that redemption on Uthman. We saw how ridiculous that was in game number 3 between Complexity and 2Arc.
I mean, it's a Resurgence, and Resurgence is massive. They also have Diablo, so they have 2 heroes that will respawn in these team fights if they do collapse in the right order. So that's going to make them the last targets that Cloud9 wants to kill. They want to get those damage dealers out as soon as possible.
So keep this in mind. For Cloud9 Maelstrom, we have Critterize, Rewind Critterize on the Polymorph. We have Call of the Wildhammer.
Rewind Bombs.
Yep, we have
Rewind
Bombs. Actually, we didn't even talk about this. He went Rending Cleave. 50% damage over 5 seconds.
Wow.
And there's been a little bit of discussion about this that I've seen
where cleave build, you're right.
Yeah, and so what the big thing to take note of here, like why would someone not take double bombs? Well, since they just got nerfed a little bit, so they only do 50% damage. Rending Cleave actually does 50% damage over 5 seconds. So what you're looking at is only a slight DPS nerf, but the cooldown on the cleave itself is lower than that of bombs.
True.
So you might be able to get more damage over time if you're hitting different targets with those
this is
rewinding
AoE.
cleaves.
This is
it's AoE as well,
AoE,
of course.
Yeah. So especially when we consider the increased radius of the cleave, and then the cleave does 30% more damage if you use a wild cloak. So as he approaches, he blinks in, he uses that cleave, it's gonna hit hard. And right now we're going through more of that shrine trading. Top shrine being taken by Maelstrom. They are gonna gladly pick up the fort while they're up there, and the bottom shrine will go to Templestorm, who looks to be getting aggressive onto their bottom keep.
Yes, they're probably going to actually trade out positioning, but have to keep in mind about that global presence. It's certainly possible for ETC to stage dive in and then have Brightwing follow in right after and a fly from Falstad. So they have to be so careful. We're actually seeing a small bit of rotation, and these are the 3 heroes, or 2 of the heroes that don't have that mobility. So they are. You have to imagine that all of the members of Cloud9 Maelstrom are here. They're going to push out as long as possible to try and force positioning for Templestorm. But at the flash, or at the blink of an eye, they can just jump in and have a 5v5 team fight. And such a strong ability to have at your fingertips.
And they're really abusing this presence
of course,
so much right now. We do see Brightwing has phase shift to the bottom lane. They want to try to pick up a Dragon Knight in this game. They have not achieved a single one at this point in time. And right now, King Caffeine going to be obnoxious on top. No one in the middle of the map right now. Both shrines are being contested, and Tassadar going to be unable to get there as ETC was bullied back.
Yeah, ETC realizing that the presence of both shrines was going to drop that chase. He was probably in a spot otherwise where he'd have to use his leap to get out of there. But he realized that, yeah, the priority is to make sure that we don't lose those shrines for Templestorm, and that's going to cause them to stop chasing. Nice heads up play to not use stage dive too early.
All right, well, iDream is going to scout this out. These bottom bruisers are there, but iDream could start to get kind of aggressive.
These little positions that he finds himself in, where he's just able to scout out, but he's so confident having that rewind. He can blink, wormhole, rewind, blink, wormhole again. Like that's so much mobility that it's going to be very, very difficult to lock him down.
Oh my goodness. Well, K1 Pro going to be able to use that Dimensional Shift to get on out, and it lasts for so long with his current build. And right now, we have seen the Zeratul just constantly giving away the position on Templestorm. They're rotating to the top. They're finding Dunk Train. Is the combo there?
He cleansed himself ahead of time, so he doesn't have that available to get himself out. And look at that. Almost instantaneously is blown up. throws down that Emerald Wind to keep himself alive, and this is definitely going to put Cloud9 Maelstrom on the back foot. They're going to steal the Dragon Knight. Yes, it gets there before the Lunar, the Sentinel gets there in time. This is going to really mitigate that loss they just had with Brightwing. If they weren't able to get that Dragon, King Caffeine would have been super far out of position, and this VP is actually pretty good for being able to get it. Yes, Dreadnought is now in a bad spot. There's no sprint for Uther to get out of these types of sticky situations. He is able to rotate around. Not too much pressure being thrown from Cloud9, but this buys them tons of time to get Brightwing back off, and they should be able to not lose a keep here for this this mistake.
Yeah, just massive plays by ETC, just getting into that Dragon Knight. Very well played by Cloud9. Like you said, buying them time. 22 seconds until Brightwing is alive once again. And this Zeratul positioning, he's constantly in the back looking for those flanks. The Dragon Knight has lost most of its health pool. Zeratul just going and dishing out some damage, but the dash forward, the combo is there. Hinterland's Blast connecting with a few members, but it's not really going to be enough, and that is one kill on the side. Zeratul damage has been removed. K1 Pro using Dimensional Shift to back on out, but Diablo, does he have the Shadow Charge?
Oh no! He actually ends up pushing him outside of that, but the cleanse is there, but I don't know if it's going to be enough. Yes, the Emerald Wind is going to keep him back behind that keep. It's going to keep him alive. All right.
The heals are real, though, and remember that both Uther and Diablo do have the Resurgence. So they can get a little bit risky here if they do want to try to plow through that bottom keep to get it down this game. Yes. But the Dragon Knight still sitting on 8 seconds of timer, buying some time.
That's right, and we still have 25 seconds before Zeratul is back up. He can take this aggressive posture, only a little bit of HP. Yes, the Dragon Knight does fall. King Caffeine now looking to try to defend as safely as possible while they stall time to get Zeratul back up.
Yeah, they're just kind of eating some shots from the keep, trying to buy time for it, clearing up this wave, and then they might continue to push on forward more. They still have a few seconds, but I don't think they're going to be able to get it. Even if they take out that tower, it's something, but getting this keep is very risky. But the combo going on to biceps, they blow him up very quickly. The water elemental in the front, Arthlon sprinting to safety, barely gets away. Huge plays, the Storm Shield coming out, Void Prison connecting with both KO and Glaurung in Arthlon. There is no safety for him. The Divine Shield is the only thing keeping alive, and the Apocalypse is zoning but does not connect with anyone. Zeratul picks up a quick kill onto Jaina. KO gonna try to chase Caffeine. One more hit would do it, but the Lunar Flare does miss Dunk Train.
And King Caffeine still trying to run away. Does have the guitar solo to keep him alive, and he is going to find a position perhaps to hearth from. KO not looking to get too much chase, but he does have that well. He's going to be able to follow up with that. And we look back at this team fight. King Caffeine will end up falling, and we do have K1 Pro, iDream, and Dunk Train still providing this chase. It's a 4v3 situation, but they think they can get the leg up on Soldier.
And Dunk does get hit by that stun. Now, we do see the Archon was used. That's Twilight Archon, dishing out a lot of damage. That's why Glaurung just knocked it back. They're just getting their posture back. ETC down for another 45 seconds. Uther, I believe he used the trait. He did. Unredeemable. Redemption is on cooldown.
Unredeemable. That's a very good point to bring up, that he's still able to participate in these fights, and is giving them a 4v4 situation at the moment, because of course just had False Tank get back up. No stacks, keep that in mind. He doesn't have that huge burst damage, which honestly didn't even play that much of a factor in the last fight. They did whiff quite a few of the targets they were hoping to hit with that Hinterland's Blast. And they're just so good at starting the fights with the Shadow Charge into Lunar Flare, Hunter's Mark combo. It's like Diablo has enough health at this point where he can just dive in. Even if there's 4 other people around, it seems as though even Cleanse is not able to save these targets.
And they do have to defend this bottom keep. They know it's low. There are Merc camps making their way down. They have to be a little bit defensive. It looks like Zeratul is going to try to stall out this middle. Bottom Shrine is going to be picked up. There are 3 members here. Soldier trying to pick up Dragon Knight, and he will be successful. So this is a pretty late Dragon Knight. We're at the 25-minute mark of Game 1, and Dragon Knight just going right for that bottom keep, which they just dealt a lot of damage to.
I also got to give kudos to iDream. He's the positioning that he's able to hold in these back lines, and he really is sniping targets left and right out of these. He's looking for the points where Jaina and Tyrande are squishy, even Vala.
But KO, he expects it. Yeah, he just shoots a multi-shot, reveals. He has factual knowledge that
Tempo Storm knows at this point in the game the only reason they haven't won is because iDream is mitigating these team fights.
The VP onto Dreadnought, that stops the heals from happening. Arthlon will be blown up incredibly quickly. You can't throw down the shield. If your target is dead, there is the Divine Shield being used on KO to keep him alive. The heal's coming out. It is a 1-for-0, but the Dragon Knight is on the core, wailing away.
Yeah.
Soldier does not even care. The rest of the team bought enough time, and game 1 is going to Tempo Storm.
Absolutely. Did a nice job. That Dragon Knight is just too much HP at this point to stop. Even doing a little bit of a mana break of the Dragon Knight at the very end.
That was classy.
It was classy. So I gotta say, Divine Shield had its moments.
It did
someday.
It did someday.
Yeah, it did have its moments, but man, we saw some real nice effectiveness. People are realizing who are the strong heroes that are in the meta right now. Tyrande, Jaina, Vala, all 3 of these heroes are super good, but they don't have the highest of HP pools. That's what's really allowing Falstad to become viable. If there's some amount of lockdown. Yeah, Zeratul as well. It's going to be probably a little bit harder to lock down his position, especially because he's not targetable, always cloaked. But
true.
I think that's why we're seeing so much Falstad. In some of those fights, boom. Just
melt targets.
With the overdrive into Hinterland's Blast, it is...
How do you feel about using the VP to just lock out the healer? Now that it prevents the Divine Shield from being capable, and they're able to blow up the target, but you're still using Void Prison just to stall out one hero on the enemy team.
Yeah, and in combination with Zeratul and the Hinterland's Blast, if you can use the VP just to make sure that you isolate one target, and then the rest of the fight's going to be a 4v5. So you have a 3v5 right after you kill that person.
That's true.
You can really make some plays positionally, and we saw that's why they were able to maintain some of those fights that really honestly started so poorly for them, but they were able to turn it around.
Yeah. All right, well, guys, we are going to get ready for the second map of the game. We're going to see what map Maelstrom wants to go to. They're down 1-0 versus Tempo Storm, but it's a best of 5, so stay with us. We'll be back in just a bit. Alrighty, guys, we are back here with the ESL Major League Americas.
I'm Kubi.
Ooh.
And you are Solid Jake. You know what? We don't get to say this enough, Jake. But thanks for tuning in, guys.
Yeah.
Really, it means a lot to us. Checking out all these games for us. We're happy that we can bring these excellent games to you guys. And
we're some lucky nerds getting to sit in these seats and like, watch these video games.
Yeah. It's a good pastime of mine. I really enjoy it a lot. God, we could bring it to you guys. We don't get to say it enough. Just want to say we appreciate it.
Well played. We had to wear our Hearthstone shirts on the same day.
Oh, what? We're supposed to coordinate. Did you talk to Wardrobe? Because
man, Wardrobe dropped we just got our arena keys. This is the Wardrobe key, the arena key. All right, guys, we have Cloud9, and they are down 1-0.
This is
Temple
true.
Storm took a convincing game number 1, but it was very close. Could have gone either way.
Absolutely.
We thought it was going to be just very in favor of Temple Storm getting those picks using the Diablo Tyrande. It was just picks on both sides constantly, the roaming around the map from both teams.
I'm still very impressed with iDream's play. That's some of the more precise Zeratul play that we've seen in a while, where it's really making use of his strengths. He's cloaked. He can really get into that back line, and he was so many times just in the most ridiculous spot, or it's like, what if anybody turns around and fires an AoE, you're dead. But he knows that he has to push the limit of Zeratul to really get that maximum effectiveness. And so many of those fights that honestly should have ended so poorly for Maelstrom were cleaned up very well by Dunk Train. So kudos to him. Impressive Zeratul play.
That was really some convincing play, but Illidan will be banned out in this game, and ETC is the follow-up. Very nicely done.
ETC makes a lot of sense. Even though they were running ETC in the last game, I think it just makes a lot of sense. They're trying to force the position for that first pick. They say, okay, very likely the Temple Storm is going to first pick Rhaegar. They want to tailor the rest of their draft for Cloud9's first 2 picks to pick up something that perhaps has a little bit of synergy.
Well, we do see Temple Storm. They have a lot of options here. Rhaegar is on the table, and typically when he's available, he's picked up. And I would be actually rather surprised if they didn't go for him. Now, they could go for Jaina, they could go for Vala, one of those big damage dealers.
Or Tassadar, the can opener, as you like to call him. What is it you call him? Yeah, he's a can opener, right?
The can opener.
Swiss Army knife, whatever, same thing.
Can opener.
Okay, Swiss Army knives have can openers.
Okay, doesn't mean I call him the can opener.
By
what is that? No.
Something property.
He doesn't even have a
transitive
blade
property. He's a can opener.
Ugh.
That's how it works. Math.
No.
Anyone? Someone in chat's got to back me up on this. Tassadar, the can opener.
Okay, you can call him that. They're going for Jaina, the ice box.
No.
Terrible name.
Those are called freezers. Actually, we have one over there. That's an ice box. Refrigerators are just less good ice boxes, really, when it comes down to it.
Oh, okay.
You think about it. You think about how smart of a statement that is that I just made.
Refrigerators are less good than ice box. Well, Jaina, she's neither of those. She's a massive damage dealer here, and she's going to be prioritized. Now, that allows Maelstrom to scoop up something like Rhaegar, but Illidan is banned out, so they don't have to worry about Illidan and Rhaegar, which is a nice little benefit. And I would actually be rather surprised if we don't see them do that. But we've seen Maelstrom like to run things like Sonya. And if they do manage to pick up something like that Rhaegar, the ability to grab Sonya could really pay off.
I'm always going to be ridiculously biased to whatever team picks Sonya because I just love seeing that style of play. So much fun to watch. It's just pure excitement when it comes down to it. I don't think any hero that you play, Jake, is pure excitement.
Wow.
Gonna make that just blanket statement.
What a guy.
No response. See, he's backed up. It's like, you're right. Sonya's just too much fun. I saw you playing Sonya the other day on your stream.
It did not go well. Did not go well. All right, Vala. Vala has been scooped up. They want to make sure they have some of that damage. Giving Vala and Jaina would be a poor decision. But Maelstrom, they now have the choice. Do they scoop up an early damage dealer? Do they want something like Tyrande? Tyrande is a playmaker. She's kind of an exciting hero that I play.
All right, yeah, Jake's giving me this grin that is... No one wants to see that. All right, but you're right, though. You're right. Picking Tyrande here because Tyrande Jaina, the combo, if you just have one other person that can provide some kind of lockdown, even as crazy as they don't really play Kerrigan so much, but if you had Tyrande Jaina Kerrigan in the same team,
it's a bit strong, you could say. And Tyrande also provides all of that vision with the Sentinel across the map, just being able to check the location of the enemy team, see if you're safe to take X mercenary camp and whatnot. And they're thinking hard on this. They actually really respect the power of Uther and Divine Shield. And I expect to see Tyrande and Rhaegar picked up.
I'd say Tyrande Diablo. I was doing so much work that last game. I was doing so much work with the rotations, and there's no ETC available for Maelstrom to pick up.
That is true.
That would force him into a Stitches take, I would say.
But you still give Maelstrom the potential of having Uther Rhaegar, and although that's fallen off, I still think it's got a lot of power to it.
I was impressed with the Tyrande play. With the Diablo.
Yeah, no, I definitely think that's on the table. But just the idea of giving up Rhaegar right now when he's still. How often do we see Rhaegar picked late in the draft when he's not banned out? Oh, never. That's the answer. Never.
But I want the flips. I want the flips from Diablo.
You don't get flips.
All right. You're right. You're absolutely right in saying that. Of course.
You don't get flips?
What? No. No. You still have a dead. Ah, okay. Yes, Rhaegar is grabbed here. Do they try to follow this up? Are they going to set themselves up for later in this draft? Now, if we see Tyrande picked for Tempo Storm, does this trigger Maelstrom to follow up with Diablo? To try to reduce that synergy?
Yeah, they might. Now, Hook still becomes a more than viable option on Stitches.
Yes, actually, the one game that we saw Stitches win was played by Maelstrom. I remember specifically, I think, King Caffeine.
Yeah.
So
Hooks are good, man.
He's the guy who's going to do it to bring Stitches back. That's apparently what Stitches makes the noise. No, that's Nazebo, of course. How could I confuse
Scooby-Doo, of course.
What? All right. Taking their time here with the bonus pool, dipping into it. And Zagara.
All right. They go for Zagara. Didn't expect that, honestly. But does Maelstrom? Okay, so there's Tyrande. Very quick, they say, if they do not take Tyrande, we are scooping that hero up. And I like that pick. You just said Maelstrom. They had success with Stitches.
Yes.
Why not do it again?
Tempo Storm now needs to think of a new way to attack this game. Game 1 had a lot of success, again, with those Diablo Tyrande picks. That capability is going over to the side of Cloud9 Maelstrom. How do they want to approach the synergy moving forward? Diablo's still a very viable pick. Glaurung obviously feels quite comfortable on the Diablo, but how do they want to follow up with it?
It's going to be very interesting. Now, Zagara provides those big Maw potentials, and we've seen that the idea of having Void Prison and Maw become relatively popular. You think Vikings?
It could happen. It has been known to be a counterplay for Stitches in the past.
Do they round out Vikings to join the other bearded bro Muradin?
Tassadar, maybe? Hey, still on Tassadar, right? There's a 1.5 healers for Maelstrom. Why not grab that extra healing ward to supplement?
Maw Force Wall.
Jake, come on. Come on, Jake. Maw Force Wall. All right. You get a bag of flips if that happens.
Okay.
At all in this tournament.
I'll take it. The only reason I say that is I know that some of these teams have actually been playing around with that on Quick Match. They've been toying with it and just testing it, and it's strong. And this is one of the maps where it does work. Force Wall has a big impact, and it just received a buff in this last patch. Giving up Archon is a tall order. It is a tall order. But none of those heroes can pass through a Force Wall. There's no leaps for any of them, and Muradin has the ability to leap over those walls. So, who knows? Who knows? It's not off the table.
It's true. Jake's looking to nullify his flip debt. But we do have Tassar as that final pickup. Just a good source of damage. Extra healing. Like I was mentioning about that 1.5 healer. The healing ward, the shield. It does a wonderful job to keep members sustained. On top of that, ancestral healing for Rhaegar. The final pick, it's going to be damage. Tychus. Could be Tychus. Zeratul makes a lot of sense as well.
Zebo hasn't seen a lot of play, and Zebo makes no sense here because of Muradin. I mean, Gargantuan has picked up. But you also talked about Vikings earlier, and Maelstrom really does have a very strong Vikings.
Yeah.
And I think they make a lot of sense. I mean, to provide all that soak, all the vision, the ability to collect seeds across the map, there's a lot of strength to them here. and Guard of Terror.
So you take your bet on Vikings. I think it's going to be Zeratul.
Zeratul worked for them. iDream played like a boss in that last game.
It did. Tygus also a possibility, too.
It's not as many squishy targets. It's really just that one very vulnerable Jaina. Zagara's, yeah, she's vulnerable too, I suppose.
Also, you have to always keep in mind the hook. Oh! Good thing we put flips on it. It is the Vikings. Good call. Good call. We did see the Lost Vikings played in yesterday's series against Complexity. I believe they won that game as well. It was on Blackhearts. Yes, they did.
Yeah. So really, really nice. Those will be the drafts for game number 2. Currently, Templestorm up 1-0, and this is a best of 5. So first to 3 will take the victory, advancing to the grand finals.
Absolutely.
And guys, all those matches are happening today. So this is the second best of 5 series with a potential of 5.
This is the gauntlet.
Best of 5
gauntlet.
Series.
We could be here till wee hours of the morning, bringing you guys some amazing Heroes content.
Well, we have given the players the go-ahead here in the lobby. The next game will begin very soon in Cubus Maximus.
Right.
I'm excited to see some sick Lost Viking action.
I know, we actually haven't really seen any teams that do full splits and then have complete roam comps. And I'm waiting for that day. I think it's around the corner where we have one Viking soaking every lane, and then you have the combination of Stitches, Tyrande, Uther, and Vala all just free roaming. It's tough because you have to really be paying very heavy attention, especially when you have Muradin, who can just stun out, and Jaina to blow up, especially Eric with that low HP pool. But I think it'd be cool. There's still so much more untapped potential with Vikings. That's really what I'm getting at.
Yeah, I mean, definitely true. The skill ceiling is far from reach at this point in time for the Lost Vikings, but let us introduce our teams. And on the blue side, we do have Cloud9, Maelstrom, and Biceps playing as Uther, Dongtrain on Tyrande, K1 Pro playing Vala, King Caffeine rocking the Master Stitches, and the Pajama Vikings played by iDream.
Absolutely. And on the red side, we have Arthalon on Jaina, Glaurung's going to be playing Muradin, Dreadnought on Rhaegar, KO on Zagara, Soldier playing Tassadar, and all together, they are Tempo Storm.
All right, guys, those are our teams, and this is our map, Garden of Terror, game number 2. And just running through the talents really quick, looks pretty standard across the board. Nothing standing out, but yeah, that's actually something well worth considering, considering the Conjurer's Pursuit is something that gets stronger the longer the game goes on.
And we also have the, oh jeez, that was, before I even get my camera to look up there is an immediate pickup for the death on Eric. Of course, the lowest HP pool among the
game, except for Murky, really.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point to bring up. All right, so I was going to say we have the Infused Hammer, which is the mana refund for the Storm Hammer for Muradin. There's no big auto attackers. Yeah. I think that's a very fair statement to make. No big auto attackers for Muradin to need to use Reverberation for, like we've seen in the past with Illidan, with Archon, with Odin, etc. So it makes sense to go for this pick. Overall, how do you feel about them grabbing Muradin over, say, Diablo?
I like it on this map. I like the flexibility Muradin gets for just getting over a lane, getting into the enemy face. And this is going to be terrible for KO. No matter where he goes, he should end up falling. The hook is still more than ready. He does not dodge the Lunar Flare, just positioned in a manner in which no matter which way he went, it was back into Stitches or dead into the Lunar Flare.
That's a good point. Yeah, he had nowhere to run. Absolutely. So I fully expect we're going to see a lot of those style of rotations. They have the potential to get tons of picks and a very, very early game lead. Tempo Storm needs to make note of this and try to be as defensive as possible, at least position-wise.
Yeah, and K1 Pro just starting to clean up here. Look at how aggressive Maelstrom is. They are in the jungle of Tempo Storm on the right side, making sure to get as many aggressive seeds as they can. But Tempo's doing a good job cleaning up the bottom. Now, the Zagara is going to have to do her best to just get a lot of creep spread. Currently, KO doesn't have any down. There's a few in the back here, just providing a little bit of vision for something cheeky in the back end, but really needs to start spreading that out to get not only the movement speed, the additional health regen, and safety.
Yeah, that early death really put a big hamper on the ability, and one of the Ice Lances being thrown into King Caffeine with that damage buff from the trade of China. Is that going to be enough to eliminate King Caffeine's finding himself so low? The body blocking from Glaurung almost enough. They don't want to overextend a little bit too much. KO finding himself quite low.
Wow, that hook was so close. But yeah, the double support's paying off. Tyrande, Uther just keeping those heals on, keeping them nice and healthy. And Zagar finally starting to be able to get some creep spread down. So that's going to give them a little bit of additional vision in these situations where those roams are attempted.
Yes, 30 for 30 on the seeds. If both teams decide to split these Garden Terrors, then we're going to find no Garden Terror being taken from either side. They'll be put at 90-90. And Venom for Jaina. So that's a bit more of an aggressive step. Honestly, not what I was expecting, considering that you would look at these compositions and say, all right, Cloud9 Maelstrom is going to be the one laying the aggression down. Why don't I take something like Arcane Intellect, etc., just so they have a little bit more sustain in these fights? But they're feeling as though they can swing this back around to get those quick little bits of burst.
I like the confidence there, and having that burst potential is really nice. Can definitely be a playmaker, and especially getting an early advantage. Now, the levels are just about dead even, and we see these seeds being traded out, but Maelstrom is in hot pursuit of this top, and the power of that hook, King Caffeine just going to walk right in. They only need 10 seeds, and they are, in fact, going to get a Plant Terror as they bully back Glaurung, and the hook not even needed to pick up that kill.
Huh. Was not expecting so much aggression for this rotation, but Tempestorm really forced it back up. A big talent that's jumping out. I mean, Mental Acuity. They opted to not grab a healing ward on Tassadar, level 4, and they're going for the reduction of the cooldown for Oracle, which is his trait. Gives them the vision.
Right, and that's just they're respecting the hook.
They are, and that they want that vision to make sure that they don't get caught off guard.
Farsight and Mental Acuity.
Yes.
So that's just
tons of vision.
Full on, we're afraid of their position. We want to have eyes on, and on a map like this,
there's lots of little walls all over the place to hook, and there's also spots where you know very likely where the enemy team is position-wise. Uther actually still hasn't picked level 7 talent. Okay, he's going to go with Cleanse. He had the option to go for, actually K1 Pro with the Envenom. Going to find
nearly traded out Arthlon. The Sentinel will not connect. Soldier trying to hearth, not a safe place to do that. Yep. Glaurung needs to back up. Both of these members will be hearthing home, and the Plant Terror picked up by iDream. That is our Viking player. These Vikings have been soaking across the map, continuing to be obnoxious, and now he has them split up in the Terror and soaking bottom lane.
That's right. This Terror is really the fruits of the labor, taking that extra gank in the top lane. Now Maelstrom is able to put a bit of pressure onto this lane. Very likely, since it's a sub 5-minute Terror, especially looking at how fast that health bar is dropping, probably only going to get a tower or two. But wow, this thing, Tempestorm has dealt with it very quickly.
Yeah, but Maelstrom, they're putting that aggression in the top lane as well. They have Giants pushing, and they are just plowing through this wall in seconds. Soldier needs to be wary of the hook. So does KO. Hook does go out, and they do nicely dodge that, but the Terror is still just being an obnoxious distraction in the middle of the map. Vikings soaking bottom lane, keeping Dreadnought busy. They are everywhere on the map right now.
Yes, the Giants that they had pushing in the top lane, more than enough of a distraction that the Garden Terror was proposing so that they could get quite a bit of damage done in the top lane.
Now we do have this big rotation. We have 4 members in the middle of the map, 5 members if you include the Terror Viking, putting on this pressure. The Terror is just down to about 10 seconds, but this wall will easily fall.
They actually ended up getting, he dropped down to what, 50% HP, within 5 seconds of showing up at the wall. Still manages to stall out the full duration of the Terror here. Does he have enough to throw down one more Overgrowth? Not quite, and we're going to see them back up. Another thing to take note, of course, they did have Olaf was in the Garden Terror, so that just leaves a little bit more mobility around, or not mobility, but presence around the map. So that Vikings continue soaking.
Yeah,
so power of Vikings right there.
It really is, and that's the one thing I love about that hero so much. I mean, it's 3 heroes in one. The Dragonites, the Terrors, the options are really there, and we do see a nice full level lead for Cloud9, giving them that heroic advantage, and putting Tempestorm in a position where if they get engaged upon, they're in a terrible spot, but 10 right around the corner for them.
Yes, and breaking that tower up in the top lane, they are able to get level 10. Let's talk about some of the heroics that have been grabbed for both sides. A little bit more of a traditional set of heroics for Cloud9 Maelstrom with the Starfall, Divine Storm, Putrid Vial, Longboat Raid, very slight damage nerf, and Strafe.
Yeah, but on the other half, it's Water Elemental. We do have, of course, the Avatar picked up here on Muradin is healing Maw and the Archon for Tassadar. Lots of damage. Vikings continuing to be obnoxious. Dreadnought actually getting very low in the bottom lane, even just fighting them by himself. Now Zagar is going to rotate around, try to apply some aggression, but the jump and the go will be more than enough for him to escape.
a good point. So we should start talking a little bit about how we expect these team fights to transpire, more looking at the Tempo Storm side. They do have Maw, which can provide a lot of setup for Jaina to set up to just really unload those abilities that she has, especially with the trait, and piercing Stormbolt. But other than that, there's not like a huge amount of lockdown or synergy to set up. They have a lot of damage dealers. That's not. I'm not trying to get to that at all. But it's what setup do they have for it?
For the Maw, yeah.
And yeah, if the Maws are good, they will get a very favorable team fight. But I think other than that, I would fully expect these guys to be playing defensive.
The hook's going up, they have to be wary of that, but when the hook is used, they know they're a little bit more safe to get aggressive here. K-Win Pro on the backside, they're just trying to zone him there, using that far side, using that Oracle to make sure they have vision on all eyes. But again, that hook, 16-second cooldown, just about ready to go. There it is.
Yep. Pay attention to just trying to pick certain targets. They really would like to get, I guess, either Dreadnought or Arthlon. KO would be a good choice too. And if they can follow up with that with the Lunar Flare into Hunter's Mark.
All right, the hook does not connect, but a water elemental does go down. Again, we're looking for big Maws here. Those Vikings jumping, backing out. They have the longboat raid once they decide they need it. Putrid Bile being used to collect as many seeds and chase Glaurung to the best of their ability, but that stun will chase them back. King Caffeine actually getting caught with that, and the Maw only connecting with Caffeine. Glaurung in the front line. Longboat raid should be used. There it is, dishing out a lot of damage. Divine Storm connecting on both Arthlon and Soldier. Soldier's gonna have to use that dimensional shift to back on out. A nice longboat raid is just pushing everything forward. Look how low Tempo Storm is.
And the shield, yes, Dreadnought will eventually end up falling. One of those Vikings for sure will end up dropping. iDream now at very low HP, but they just got between the two AoE heroics, Longboat Raid and Strafe, and like you said, the Maw only hitting the one target. They just didn't have enough. I personally felt, it's like, all right, these guys need to back up. I don't think they can take this team fight anymore. And so I'm honestly surprised they only ended up losing one hero. It was very close to Tassadar. Ended up falling. He got the shield off at the very, very last second.
Yeah, but losing that fight means they lost the seeds. It's another plant terror picked up for Cloud9, and the fight will be continuing in the top lane as there are still a good 75 seeds available on the map.
Yes, and level 13 as well. That, of course, means Frost Shot Sprint for Tyrande, getting that extra mobility, and the Shrink Ray as well. It's a fight that I can't recommend that Tempo Storm really try to aggress this.
Yeah, the hook's going in. Soldier is forced to use that dimensional warp to get out of that situation, and Arth just trying to soak. But again, you mentioned this. They have an aggressive plant terror, and they're going to collect enough seeds to deny Tempo Storm from being able to even collect.
Yeah, they'll get the denial. They won't get a second Garden Terror on their own, but while they're doing this, yes, of course, they continue to put a bit of aggression in the top lane. Glaurung having to devote some of his attention to dealing with that, and perhaps actually taking some damage from iDream.
No, but man, those Vikings, they're just everywhere. They're always soaking. They threw a Viking once again into the plant terror. So this top fort is going to fall. The rest of the team pushing in mid. They're trading out 2 forts for 1, and meanwhile, Lost Vikings are soaking all 3 lanes. It's massive.
Yeah, I think that's going to end up netting a very, very large experience lead for Cloud9 Maelstrom. They are really having a solid stranglehold on this game. Structurally, we can see that, yeah, it's, the 2 forts down to 1. This Garden Terror is still providing enough of a presence that's forcing all of the members of Tempo Storm back to rotate. And look at this rotation. Are they going to be able to pick up a kill onto Glaurung? No, he does get the Ancestral Healing.
But as a massive Maw, the Archon is lined up. Where is the Blizzard from Jaina? The damage is there. King Caffeine is getting very low, but the shields, the heals, they are real. Divine Storm onto Soldier. Not quite enough to pick up that kill, and it is a disengage. A very close fight on both sides.
So many heroics thrown down from either side, like you mentioned. The Maw was very big, but of course, like the structures being in the way, they weren't able to quite get into position to line that up. And really, the amplified healing that we see on Stitches played a huge factor. He was so close to dead very many times, but having that double support really was able to keep him alive long enough to provide that presence with that Putrid Bile in the middle of the fight, and just a very big stalemate. No one ended up falling on his side, and a lot of resources used.
Man, Shrink Ray's been picking up a lot of popularity on this Uther, and I like the pickup here for the healing surge. I think it's more healing than the additional heals or shields you get, the additional cooldown on your shielding that we saw in the previous games, and Burning Rage on Burden.
Oh, you're right. And so, of course, he doesn't have the rewind that he was so known for at level 13, which is kind of leaving a spot where there's no, I guess, clear good choice at anymore in this talent, which I guess is, that's how talent should be designed, each of those tiers. We see the healing surge for Rhaegar, trying to get that little bit of extra burst heal, and the rest of these talents are pretty much what you would expect at 13.
Yeah, but man, Cloud9, they are just dominating the map right now, taking the aggressive bruisers, now the aggressive giants. They're so close to level 16, and that's pretty much a 2-level advantage for them.
Yeah, and that's going to really lock out Tempo Storm from trying to aggress into any fights. They will have to very much secure strong positioning if they want to even attempt to take a fight. They're aware of the vision that they are taking these giants, but like you said, the map control is just super strong right now for Cloud9 Maelstrom.
So they're gonna take this opportunity to try to trade out the top fort. Maelstrom, they've got Mercs in the mid. They've got Mercs being picked up in the bottom. They've got giants soaking every lane except for the top. And you just look at these lanes. They're being pushed. So yes, it's nice to pick up that fort. It's going to help them catch up and experience a little bit, but they're still down, and they just cannot fight when it's 16 to 15.
And now Fishing Hook. They have to keep that in mind. Also have the imposing presence, the extra damage on the Lunar Flare. Norse Force just keeps the Vikings alive for so much longer, and the Blood for Blood again, so Vala can keep that survivability. Nice being able to throw those types of abilities onto Murd and to get so much health back.
Yeah, well, we will see how they manage to come back into this game. Vikings forced to use the jump. They still have Go and Norse Force if they feel that is necessary, but the rotation from Cloud9 is here. The Sentinel revealing the location on Arthlon, and Fishing Hook has that maximum range. King Caffeine just walking right on and getting aggressive. The hook will not connect with Arthlon, but the Strafe is dishing out so much damage, and Ancestral Healing does not connect!
That is such a huge deal. We've talked about time and time again about how much the Ancestral Healing can really turn a fight around at a 180, and the Strafe was very well positioned, did a ton of damage to Jaina, and without that Ancestral being able to land on her, they have to back up. Now, of course, Ancestral, when it does whiff, it is on a much shorter cooldown, actually already back up, but still being down that damage dealer for 30 seconds is a big deal.
Now, the one good thing here is Tempo Storm has a Plant Terror. The bad thing, Cloud9 is likely going to get a Plant Terror and then another Plant Terror after it, because they have complete control over the map right now. They're picking up all these seeds in the top, and I'm pretty sure this one Terror alone is going to net them more than another 100 seeds after they pick their first one up.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of these teams actually stalling out, or whoever's in the head, in the lead, is usually stalling out, waiting to try to get that second Garden Terror. So we might actually see that being the case here. If they can find themselves with a nice 45, 30-second time window where they can have the Terror without theirs, even if they don't kill it, it just times out and expires. That's always a big plus, and it seems to be a common thread, because we talked about this before a little bit. These objectives that are on the map, the Garden Terrors, they can really just trade each other out and not a lot gets pushed. Teams have realized that, and they're trying to play to their advantage as much as possible.
But on the side of Tempo Storm, structurally, the game is incredibly even. They managed to trade out the top fort. They're catching up in levels. They're on an even talent footing. And if they manage to take a pretty decent fight here, it's actually, no, it's only 75, so they don't have the second Terror.
Yep.
They've actually evened up this game. Even though they lost Arthlon very quickly and rotating up to the top part of the map, it's worked out for them, and they're even getting aggressive with their Terror. Now, going across the map, it's the trades happening. The hook coming in, pulling KO in. I believe that is Tassadar, so we should be safe, but they need to respond to this. Vikings going to the top. They're all over the map, and this Plant Terror, iDream is just forcing Tempo Storm back.
Yeah, they're forcing, but KO took so much damage in that last exchange, more or less nullifying the advantage that Tempo Storm had with this Garden Terror, and the hook is all but going to confirm that they will be able to take out the Garden Terror. Now, like you mentioned, because, oh no, the lockdown was enough! They were able to chain enough stuns together to kill Tassadar.
Oh, that was actually Zagara, so that was, that was my error.
Yeah, we're so used to seeing KO on
yeah,
Tassadar.
me too.
That's been his mainstay. Yeah, but good point that we're able to just completely lock him out.
Well, iDream walking in with this Terror, that should be a very fast keep. They're going to try to get to Glaurung. With the Hunter's Mark, has his Warp Toss on. Now the hook connects on Dreadnought, forcing out a quick Ancestral Heal, which will keep him alive. This Plant Terror does get blown up during all of that focus being switched. Oh no, it just barely stays alive, throwing down a final Overgrowth, a final Queen's Curse. And Glaurung gonna die! Oh my goodness.
This might actually be pretty close to game. They still have a lot of their resources available. It depends on how they're feeling at this point in time. Do they want to get aggressive? All the Vikings are nearby. A hook at this point, if it hits the right target, perhaps Dreadnought or Arthlon will end the game if they follow up on it. Very possible. They're just posturing a little bit. This gives KO time to get back up on that Zagara. That's a lot of counter push pressure.
All right, well, Norse Force going off to keep those Vikings alive. A hook from downtown on Dreadnought, picking up a kill, and that is the kind of thing that can just flat out end the game. They've taken out 2 keeps. They just killed Dreadnought. 50 seconds on that timer with no healing available.
I think they're going to get aggressive. I don't see why they wouldn't be able to do it. The longboat raid from the Vikings is going to keep them alive with that second health bar, only hitting 1 target with the Maw.
And yes, that's looking poor. Soldier barely getting out with Dimensional Shift. KO not going to be as lucky on Zagara. The Ghost of Uther.
Ghost of Uther.
He does have that level 20
Yes.
talent, so he will respawn. That's why he is so extra shiny today. And there he is back. Caffeine getting low, but it's not enough. Game 2 is looking to be coming to a close.
Oh,
Eric
hold on.
ends up falling.
Are they
It's
getting him to
just
back up?
Muradin Tassadar with the hooks going out. Yes. There's the Hunter's Mark,
Yeah,
the
okay.
combo stuns. That's going to be game 2, going 1-1 now. Maelstrom Temple Storm.
Yeah, that was getting a little close at the end. I thought maybe not necessarily that they had overextended too much, but that they had forced Cloud9 to back up. Either way, it was a very dicey spot for Temple Storm to be in. And of course, the Ghost of Uther was doing so much work.
Kubi, you slay me. I don't know how I said Ghost of Uther, but
Yeah,
let it be known.
That's a good one. I like that. All right, that's game number 2. We know that these are all going to game 5.
We're gonna have
They're all
5.
going to game 5.
Five
These teams
game
are just
fives.
too evenly matched.
It's incredible. These games have been so good. I mean, first game looked so decisive in terms of Tempo Storm.
Yeah.
Like it was close throughout the most half the game, but at the end they were just playing the map perfectly. But on game 2, on that map, on Garden of Terror,
Yeah.
Maelstrom just looked unbeatable. They just were out rotating, out playing.
Yeah.
Vikings just keeping them so far ahead in terms of experience, and they were just using that experience advantage to capitalize constantly.
Yeah, they were kind of making it look like Blackhearts, where they had the map control, and yes, map control is going to be really important on any map, but the way that they were rotating, especially with the Garden Terrors when they were both up at the same time, leaving theirs as long as possible so they had more push power time, everything about like how they were taking the seeds, the positioning, and no really massive hooks. There were some very good ones, but none of them that really turned the fights. They were just positionally playing so well.
It was a very clean, strong game from Maelstrom, but we're going to figure out what map Tempo Storm wants to go to for game number 3.
Stick around, guys. We'll be back in just a few.
Alrighty, guys, welcome back here to the ESL Major League Americas. I'm Solid Jake, joined by the Koopy, and we're just going to hop right into the game number 3 draft because they are starting up quickly.
How about that? We see the Rhaegar ban once. No, not once again. It was not actually banned out last game, going to the side of Temple Storm. Cloud9 says, don't want to deal with that. That's fine. It fits into the standard. I'd say there's like 4 heroes right now that we see commonly banned, at least in this microcosm of a meta that has been developing over the past 2 days. Because honestly, this is the first tournament that we've had in this patch. Big tournament, right? There's probably been some scrims happening, but we're seeing how the meta develops with all of these changes throughout all of this competitive play. And honestly, from like day to day, things are going to change as well.
Yeah. Now, just looking here, Jaina, she's really starting to be prioritized quite a bit. I mean, the amount of it's not even just the damage, but it's the control she gets on the battlefield. Yeah. AoE, even just zoning with a blizzard is worthwhile. And she's just so powerful. I mean, this current version of her in this patch, I'm loving it.
Yeah. The damage output that she got quite a few buffs on every single one of her base abilities. She now is able to clean up golems and other large objectives faster because her trait now applies the trait and the slow, or the damage increase and the slow, which is together forms her trait. All real big pluses for Jaina. She also got a new level 20 talent. We haven't seen it just yet. Most people are still prioritizing that Bolt of the Storm at level 20. Good plays. All right, so Tempo Storm has followed this up with a Vala Uther pick.
Yep, and they have Uther a lot. They've really been prioritizing Uther quite a bit. They didn't have him that last game. He went over to the side of Maelstrom, who just went Divine Storm, pretty standard style. Saw great success with it, but it's Sky Temple, and this opens up the doors to some very aggressive options.
Draft is looking very similar to the last game, except swap teams. At this point, I think it was Tempo Storm picked up Rhaegar. Obviously not the case anymore, yes, because he's banned out. But still, just to keep that in mind, that these are still highly sought after heroes for both sides.
I wonder if we'll see Brightwing again. Now, Maelstrom has been playing a lot of Brightwing. I wouldn't be all too surprised to see something like Tacit Brightwing. Maybe not as their next picks, but as their support for this game, because having that phase shift is huge, and ETC is banned out, but they do seem to enjoy that global presence. But Illidan going to be scooped up.
All right. And what kind of support, or how much support do they feel they need to give to Illidan to make him effective? Uther already been picked up, so you're left with some combination of Brightwing. And I think perhaps it does make a lot of sense for them to grab Brightwing, because Brightwing is such a strong counter to Illidan. At least I feel like the best counter that we've seen so far, especially if there's some form of double healer on the other side to keep him alive.
That is very true. Now, Maelstrom is thinking hard.
Could lock down their tank as well.
It would be nice. It would be nice. We know the synergy is real with Diablo and Illidan, just being able to dive in, flip all over the place, and just have a party, essentially. But Tassadar is such a versatile pick and pairs so well with Uther. So I think picking up Tassadar just for the denial and just having it as just such a rock-solid middle-of-the-road pick is probably more worthwhile than grabbing your tank this early.
I think that there's a lot of value in that, of course, but we have seen teams prioritize things earlier than we expected.
True.
A lot of it has to come down with how comfortable are they at this point in the draft. There's some other factors that we don't always get to see that are a little bit behind the scenes. But Cloud9 Maelstrom dipping quite a bit into their bonus pool, only 40 seconds left. So they're thinking hard about this. They feel that this is the pivotal point of the draft. They really need to figure out how much do we show our hand with our strategy. Once we figure out this part of the draft, I think everything else will probably fall into place with a little bit of discussion based on what Tempo Storm picks. So they're actually going to go for a very middle of the road and grab the can opener, Tassadar.
The can opener. Well, we'll see if they go for the peeler, Mr. Diablo. He's gonna get those carrots
Potato
nice
peeler.
and peeled.
I see what you did there. We're talking kitchen utensils. Funny guy.
Ugh. All right.
Oh, kitchen utensils. I hate those.
I actually really expect Tempo Storm to pick up that Zagara. We've seen a lot of success in the past with the Maw. They scoop up Tyrande, and they go for Dibbles himself.
Tyrande Diablo.
All right.
I was thinking that might be the case. This draft so far is quite similar to game number 1. You just swap out Jaina for whomever their final pick is, but they also had Vala. They also had Uther to follow up with this. They said we had a lot of success running this style before. We'll see if we can carry it through in game number 3 on Sky Temple.
All right, Maelstrom. It's their turn.
Yes.
They've got their final 2 picks ahead of them. They currently need a tank, and they need a healer. Tyrande being scooped up pretty much means they're going to... Lily doesn't make a lot of sense because they have Illidan. So they do go for the Brightwing. We've seen them lean to Brightwing. But who is their tank?
Sky Temple, I don't think that Chen makes a whole lot of sense, and we've been talking a little bit about Chen in the past on particular maps. Really, I think Muradin.
Muradin? Yeah, that makes the most sense. We've seen them do things with Sonya, but she's never a solo tank, and yes, she can have a lot of aggression available with the Illidan, but Muradin can also dwarf toss into battle in a similar...
maybe. The lockdown isn't quite there, but you do have the option for Polly and Janice Hogan. They won last game with Stitches too, right? So
yeah, I don't.
Can't knock it.
Very different composition, though.
It was. They don't have quite the same amount of lockdown as they did previously. So.
Well, we'll see what they go for here. Now, Tyrael, We've seen him played by 2-Arc. Not sure how much.
It's not going to happen.
It doesn't make that much sense. And yeah, Murden. Okay. That's just a safe pick. So tempo, in terms of damage, Vikings are still a fair option. Falstead's picked up a lot of pace. But looking at what they have for blow up, I mean, they don't have Jaina. Would they substitute something like Zeratul or Nova, you think?
No, I think that leaves them a bit low in the damage output.
So maybe just still stick with something like Zagara for the control with the Maw Apocalypse.
Or Tychus. I think either of those two are what's it could be Falstad. How do they feel about? Is there enough squishy targets on the other side? Just Jaina, really.
Yeah.
Tassadar will be able to dimensional shift out. More than likely, there's tons of options for Illidan mobility-wise. Jaina's really going to be the only target, and that's putting yourself in a sticky spot to try to say, oh, this is the only target we can pick. We're kind of a pick comp, but this is the only target we can grab to get any effect in the start. It's just you're narrowing in a little bit too much. Cloud9 Maelstrom can play around that quite a bit by just leaving Jaina way in the back.
They could also get something that's really aggressive.
They could, like
Kerrigan, that would play into a Divine Shield composition. We've seen they like the Divine Shield.
I'd be really okay with that.
As it stands, this
could be Sonya.
It could go both ways, yeah. And having that flexibility with Uther is huge.
Yeah, you're right, and that's a very good point to make. The flexibility is there for this final pick. They could take something that's very aggressive frontliney, or they could just add to the damage they already have and let Diablo Tyrande do the work. A lot of ways to take it.
It all depends on how they feel about the opponent's composition. They know exactly what they're up against. Final pick here is just going to pretty much determine their exact play style in this game. 20 seconds remaining in the bonus pool. Stakes are high.
Actually, I take it back. The aggressive playstyle doesn't make sense because of Brightwing.
Emerald Wind makes it hard, yeah.
So
right.
I think that they're pretty much forced to take some kind of damage there to follow up. Tychus being the one that makes the most sense given what's left in the pool. Could have been Falstad as well.
And we've seen ridiculous use of both Laser Drill and... but this should be a Divine Storm composition. They have been leaning to the shield quite a bit, and it can make big plays, kind of like the Ancestral Heal can. But I think when you have that potential for the extra stuns when you're flipping in with the Diablo, I like the idea of Divine Storm here.
Absolutely, just giving you that much more control over the fight that you already have, something that Cloud9 Maelstrom has to be super careful of moving into this game. All right, this is Game 3. This is a big swing point for both these teams. Not to say that a win here is insurmountable for the losing team. We saw that just in the first round of Losers Bracket, but still, it weighs heavily on the mind, and you have to think about mental stamina and morale for your team. It's a long day to be playing.
Yes.
And these teams are going to be exhausted at the end of the day, especially whomever goes into grand finals. Like, it's a lot of games to be playing. Like, they're going to be up playing constantly at high pacing, high energy for over 12 hours.
Well, no, that's the losing team of the series. They fall down into the losers bracket where they have to face a 2-Arc. Then, if they manage to defeat 2-Arc in the losers bracket, they then need to go into the grand finals
and play.
If somehow they win in the grand finals,
they got to play again.
They got to do it again. So if
so
you
much
lose here, you
need.
have a gauntlet against you. If you win here, you get a dinner break, you get a rest break, you get time to talk, watch replays, and just really start to think about this team that you just faced, because you might be facing them again.
That's a very, very good point to make. And let's see, in the case of Tempo Storm, that would be advantageous more so for them to win here, because both of the teams that would be in the losers finals, they have already played and they have a lot of content to review.
Yeah,
Maelstrom doesn't quite have that advantage, but still, I think they'll be pretty happy in the winner's side of grand finals and to have a break.
It's kind of nice to win here. Yeah. Well, the teams are readying up. Game number 3 underway.
Sky Temple. Sky Temple. Temple of the Sky.
Will the Ghost of Other
best misspeak of the day, I will say. It's of the week at least.
The chat enjoyed that, so
I'll
accept my blunder there. All right, guys, Sky Temple Game 3, 1-1 tied up this best of 5 series.
Yeah, let's get you guys tweeting this stuff out. Honestly, this is it. This is winners finals for the playoffs for the ESL and a Major League. We've gone through 7 weeks of group stages. These guys battling it out, grueling fights. Constantly, we've seen just the highest of levels of play so far in this playoffs team. You guys need to make sure everyone is watching this right now.
Yeah, let's break those viewership records for Heroes of the Storm, but introducing the teams on the blue side, we do in fact have Tempo Storm, who is currently sitting up tied 1-1 with Arthalon on Tychus, KO on Vala, Soldier playing Tyrande, Dreadnought on Uther, and rounding out it's going to be Glaurung spinning around on Diablo.
And let's talk about the other side of the battlefield, the red team. That's going to be Cloud9 Maelstrom playing for them. We have Biceps on Tassadar. iDream is going to be playing Illidan, Dunk Train on Brightwing, K1 Pro on Jaina, and King Caffeine on Muradin.
And they're slow walking, they're getting fancy, looking nice, and they're ready for battle. On Sky Temple, we see this every single time. That tower, the watchtower, so valuable, especially considering those first temples are, of course, top and bottom. And look at this. Immediately we see the scouting drone going down, and it's starting to pick up a lot of pace. Today, we're seeing it on Brightwing.
Absolutely. It either seems to be Brightwing or Malfurion. Even ETC has it, which is kind of surprising, but of course banned out.
Look at this, look at this. Arthalon rotating down. Good. Oh my goodness, he expects it, and he is going to nicely dodge. That would have been a really tough situation with both a Brightwing and a Illidan waiting for him.
The polymorph to block out the ability to run and gun there. So, I saw some people in the chat that really wanted to see iDream's Illidan. Wish granted. We get to see the master flex player, iDreams, just rotating around with all these melee assassins doing work. And yeah, Dreadnought catching a little bit of heat from the rotation in top lane.
But he's just going to be able to throw a stun out, back on up. And look at this. His little ganking party has arrived. So, the Watchtower will trade hands, and that will reveal the position. They're going forward, looking for K1 Pro, but it's going to be thwarted as King Caffeine rotates up to provide a little bit of peel.
Good point. Yes, this map in particular throws the objective at both teams very early. Team fights happen very quickly into the match, and we'll see no exception this time with both teams are actually fighting even earlier over this Watchtower. They realize how important this vision is.
Yes, and remember, Hunter's Mark could really blow up any of these targets. Biceps decides to be that target for the Hunter's Mark. King Caffeine going to have to Dwarf Toss out of this battle, and that was a small victory.
It was really unfortunate that both Muradin and Biceps got caught in the Lunar Flare with the Hunter's Mark, throwing tons of damage. It just forced them to back and take well. They just won't have as many options in terms of sustainability moving forward.
Well, we are rapidly closing in on that level 4. We'll get more talents with that. Both teams just kind of still fighting over this Watchtower. King Caffeine really valuing it, but during all of this, Tempo has had control of the middle temple. Now, the top temple, Brightwing just now starting, and ammunition just started to be depleted.
Yep. Which means that once this temple has been depleted by Dreadnought, they will see a full rotation for Tempo Storm up to the top lane, and you have to, expect that Cloud9 is well aware of this type of rotation happening, and they are going to prepare for this invasion. Soldier taking a ton of damage.
Wow. Okay. Soldier does get blown up. That is our Tyrande, but Dunk Train very low on the backside. Dread considered going forward for that stun, but decided not worth it with the damage of both K1 Pro and Biceps available. Tychus rotated to the middle lane to try to apply aggression. He's just rotating around, soaking middle and bottom right now, and that's allowing them to stay a little bit ahead in that experience.
Yeah, that's a big deal. But of course, these extra tower shots from the temple is going to provide more tower kills by these top fours, and it should do quite a bit to level out that experience lead.
The rotation is here. The boss just crawled out of his den, in Diablo and Tyrande, they could look for a big pickup.
Absolutely, and that is exactly it. Dunk Train has been the target of these roaming gank styles in the first game of the day, and now we're seeing that here as well. Even the cleanse doesn't seem to help all that much. It is just such a scary combination to play around.
Well, the Giants, they're being pinged by our red team, but so are the Bruisers. There are no bribes here, but they do have a lot of, ability to pick those up. But the Lunar Flare connecting with Biceps once again, and the Blizzard Appeal not going to be quite enough. We have that Stormbolt going out, not connecting with Soldier. And right now, Tempo Storm, they take this 2-kill advantage, certainly very early in the game.
I'm noticing this is maybe one of the stronger early game compositions I've seen Tempo Storm sort of stumble into, or at least practice. This Diablo Tyrande composition, like I was mentioning before, Tempo Storm is not really known for having the most power for early game, and the fact that they've found this and they have a very strong footing in the early game makes them a very scary force, because you know that their late game is going to be strong as well.
Right.
So I think that moving forward throughout this series, who wins this game, I think Tempo Storm should really look to stopping Tempo Storm from getting this combination of heroes.
What do you think about this early cap on these top bruisers. Typically, we see teams try to stagger those, cap the bruisers so that they're more impactful in terms of.
Yeah, we're not going to see the bottom temple hit until about a little after 5 minutes, and it looks as though Tempo Storm's timing is a little bit more on point with that. There's other things to factor in as well. The soak is much better at the current time for Cloud9 Maelstrom. They actually have someone mid. They're putting a little bit of pressure on bottom. So there's advantages for that. You have to look at it and about the timing and how both teams are going to respond.
Okay, those are great points to make. iDream just kind of hanging out in the bush, seeing if he can escort these Giants and making sure he soaks this top lane. That's the key. Soaking towards 10 is a huge factor, and if one team can hit that level 10 first, especially for this bottom temple, which will be spawning in 5 seconds, it can give you an overwhelming advantage.
Absolutely. And then the bottom temple is going to spawn right about now. And like you mentioned, that race to 10 is very important. It actually almost appears as though Cloud9 is really not going to provide any pressure here. iDream is pushing still with those bruisers up top, and may even continue further after that. The immolation really just provides so much wave clear.
Yeah, I mean, he destroyed those bruisers very quickly. He kept his bruisers alive for the time being, and he's soaking. That's the big thing. He's soaking experience in that lane, which is going to allow them to catch up for that level 10. But bottom temple is being traded out right now.
And the fort going down will get Tempo Storm ever closer to that level 10. We just see that they have hit it here. Divine Shield once again. They really want to make sure that they can protect that Diablo, maybe even the Odin. Whatever target gets focused, they want to make sure that they have that 3 seconds of invulnerability. Draken Laser Drill, Lightning Breath, just so much damage output for all of these heroics, aside from that Divine Storm. And if Cloud9 Maelstrom tries to rotate onto anyone to try to pull one of those pieces of the damage output out, they just get the Divine Shield and carries on.
Now,
the 2 forts.
The call by Maelstrom to leave Illidan up top netted them a fort, which is really nice, and they really couldn't fight because of them being so close to level 10. Wow, the shields from Tassa are actually keeping them alive.
Colin says no.
But yeah, another melting point will in fact seal the deal on the middle fort as it expires, giving 800 experience to the side of Tempo. And, well, they're sitting up a fort right now.
All right, let's talk about some of these talent choices that have been grabbed. We haven't really gotten to a chance to talk about Vala's builds so far today. The choices have been kind of 50-50 between whether you get the reset on the vault for the Hungering Arrow or if you take Searing Attacks. And I've seen some people in the chat say like, oh, why are they taking Searing Attacks when they're going for a multi-shot build? Well, it's just a little bit of extra utility. You have to consider that she did lose battle momentum on that tier, so her options aren't quite as strong as she had before. It was nice because her auto attack speed was so fast and she could get her heroics off cooldown and have that utility. She could throw it out in a lot more defensive spots. Not the case anymore.
The Searing actually, I mean, it's weird. Like you said, battle momentum definitely was the 99% pick.
Yeah.
But Searing does give her a little bit more burst in a way. So it's weird to see battle momentum gone because it means less heroics, less abilities in general. But this new Vala is still very good.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and she did lose that invulnerability on her vaults, etc. But still, she's getting picked up quite often. All right, I think we should probably have the next set of temples that is going to spawn top bottom or mid bottom. That should be probably around 8:30, 9 minutes or so. We'll have to keep in mind how the rotations pan out for their other talents. Let's see, Cleanse. That's obviously going to play a huge factor into trying to combat this Tyrande Diablo pick style. Huge presence, and there it is. Okay, we have that. The 8-minute temples spawning in mid and bottom.
Yeah, so temples are just sitting here in the middle lane, and we do have to just consider these heroics. We haven't really seen a full-on team fight at this point in time with heroics. So the Lightning Breath and both the Draken Laser Drill, I'm very curious if we'll see something like a Divine Shield used on the Draken Laser Drill.
That would be crazy if they just put it in a really forward position. Actually, I wonder if they can even target it.
I'm pretty...
Allied Hero.
I'm not sure.
Allied Hero and Vulnerable.
Okay, maybe
they probably can't even target it.
Yeah, who knows? Who knows? Tooltips can be wrong.
Yeah, it's true. It's very true.
But it's not something that we've seen in the past, but Tempo Storm, they do weird things. Shadow Charge going in, the Lunar Flare follow-up is there, and Avatar is used immediately. The Lightning Breath initiated in the wrong direction, and that Laser Drill just gets melted right off the bat. We do see the shield going off onto KO. Arthlon backing up with First Aid, gonna try to stay alive, and Dread is the target of this Illidan. Does he have his stun available? No, the heal's coming up, the body blocks from Diablo. You can't actually stop Illidan, and no, he will be reduced to Ghost form. Very convincing fight. They just kept so much pressure on Diablo and Uther. The rest, none of the assassins had any peel at all.
Yeah, I think a lot of that came down to how the fight initiated. They dashed forward onto Muradin. Whether he was too far forward or not, never really the ideal target. to grab as you're, we're going to pick this guy off, because he got the cleanse immediately, which allows him to just walk out of that stun. They're not able to follow up as well with the Hunter's Mark. So you've lost all the cooldowns for Diablo CC. You have lost Hunter's Mark. You've lost Lunar's Flare. So that's one thing. And then he also starts the Lightning Breath in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
Blizzard supposedly did change that. I haven't actually played around with Diablo too much since this patch, but he supposedly starts it in not the direction he's facing, but the cursor.
Right.
So he's just a matter of he had the cursor on the wrong side of Diablo, if they did fix that. So that's unfortunate. And once you just kind of spend those resources too early, not really getting a lot of effectiveness out of it, you're getting a lot of control for or lack of control on Illidan, who's just able to go to town, and he was pressuring Dreadnought constantly, and the rest of the rotation for Murden and Tassadar were able to just fully out the rest of the auto attackers and damage dealers for Tempo Storm. That's the Maboss, Cloud9 Maelstrom.
That's some Maboss, that's some
level
Merc
lead.
camps, a lot of control across the map, and now they're sitting on this bottom temple. Things are looking good for them, but Tempo Storm, it just takes one nice combo to blow up one of the heroes, and we'll see what they're able to do, but Maelstrom, they're looking good right now.
Absolutely. So level 13 was hit. We have Relentless for Tychus, extra range in that Shadow Charge, so the combo can hit from a little bit further away as long as they're following up for that. Still, though, they want to pressure this temple, but they just don't feel comfortable with the positioning. King Caffeine always in that forward spot to try to shut down any aggression.
And yeah, that's going to net them the final fort of Tempo Storm. There are no mules for either side in this game.
Yep.
And that is permanent damage going down to this back keep wall.
Very, very good point. And a lot of this map does have a tendency to get a little bit snowball-y in the sense that once the team catches ahead and they can hold that map control, much like you would see on Blackheart's Bay, you start to have to make slightly crazier plays for the team that is behind. Level 16 is really going to be the big turning point. Tempo Storm, I think that if they want to try to get a team fight and get aggressive, they need to do it right now before Maelstrom hits level 16. Otherwise, they need to wait until they themselves hit 16. And it looks like as though they're going to wait.
Yeah, this is a very aggressive position for Tempo Storm. They just want to remove this final fort from the game. They see it's kind of vulnerable.
They're going to back up.
And they're going to do that and just back on out. Those cruisers providing a small buffer. Caffeine just throwing out a blind Stormbolt, because if he gets a target, Jaina can follow up and really remove that target rather quickly.
So, level 16 hit for Maelstrom. We do see that extra survivability for Dimensional Shift. Any crazy talents? Okay, Stone Form. That's always nice. Sometimes we see the imposing presence for Murd, and this case it's going to be that extra sustain over the 8 seconds. He goes for 50% of his HP. That's very significant if you can keep him alive.
And this is so good for Maelstrom. They're just forcing Tempo back, looking for that stun. Glowering, of course, going to be able to stand in front, but the Stormbolt does pass through, hitting both targets. Giants will be stole, and Tempo just can't fight till they have 16.
Yeah, they have to wait, and Maelstrom knows it. They're playing this to a T, like exactly how they should. They know that they can keep map control, and Tempo Storm has to be a little bit passive in terms of what fights they pick. They really need to catch somebody from Cloud9 really out of position to capitalize on this.
And with this temple spawning, that's actually kind of almost like a breath of fresh air, because it's going to give Maelstrom another opportunity to go pick something up. That alleviates some of this immediate pressure that Maelstrom would have put on otherwise.
Yeah, well, what it comes down to is the fact that the temples are split completely across the map. And, it's a breath of fresh air. I'd say more for Tempo Storm.
Right, that's what
they can get up to that top shrine. And unless Maelstrom really picks a fight, the temples will probably end up being split. But we have that. Oh, I forgot about the map presence that Brightwing has. She can just rotate in if needed. Yeah. And Dreadnought has to force the use of Divine Shield. That's not how he wants to start any of these team fights. That survival, the sustainability is not there.
And KO is taking a lot of damage, vaulting backwards with that strafe going in. Oh my goodness, the cleanse coming out on point, just stopping the shadow charge in place. Arthalon gonna get very low. The Water Elemental, one more hit will secure a kill, but the stun of the Water Elemental will keep him alive. Glowering gets hit with a polymorph. The Metamorphosis going in will pick up that kill. He does have souls, but man, what a clean fight, and that's just gonna force Tempo Storm to the bottom, but Maelstrom expects this. They're putting Brightwing back in the top by herself and sending the rest of the team to contest.
And, with that scouting drone, that will give Brightwing enough time. She's going to stand probably in the upper right-hand corner. As soon as she sees any aggression, bam, she's going to probably either run away. Yep, she's going to pop Sprint and the Pixie Dust to make sure. Sprint not actually popped, but Pixie Dust, that gives the movement speed. So they're actually not capping bottom shrine. Looking to hacks,
they just want to gank, and having Diablo back up, he's the only one that fell in that fight. This is giving Tempo Storm an actual chance. They have level 16 now. We see those talents across the board, and with Benediction, that's a lot more utility available on the Uther player.
And they also have the imposing presence on Illidan that will, for Diablo to deal with Illidan, and also Archon. You got to keep that in mind. So if he's a little bit more bullying with his positioning, he can really do some damage.
Now, Dunk Train does use that. We see KO having to get into the ice block, backing up. There is the shield going off. Lightning Breath did a fair amount of zoning, but everyone on tempo is so low. Soldier ends up falling. The burst damage, the focus is too strong. King Caffeine moving in. KO gonna end up falling. That's 2 for nothing. Dreadnought will make it 3 in just 1 moment.
Yeah, there's too much pressure with KO and Pro and Biceps following in. And Glaurung at this point is not going to have souls. This is going to be a 4 for none advantage. And they're still actually chasing on the other side of the map. Arthlon is also too expensive. Is this going to be an ace?
It is. That is an ace. Maelstrom is just going to march across the map and dish out as much damage as they can. Bottom temple still available. Brightwing should just go sit on that and capture those siege. But man, Mercenaries pushing in.
They're not looking to end the game here, but what they are going to get is a massive lead jumping to that level 20.
And they're removing structure, so they're opening up the door for those temples to just unload on the keeps, and this bottom keep is going to end up falling.
And what can we expect? It's going to be a 2-level, or maybe just a little bit less timing window for Cloud9 Maelstrom to just continue to put the stranglehold on. We're going to see the upgraded Archon. We're going to see some bolts of the Storm shields, just for the extra mobility, and perhaps even rewind from Muradin. Like, it's just all stuff that's so difficult to deal with.
Yeah, and they're picking up a boss. They picked up that keep. The bottom temple will run out of mana very soon, but they have complete map control in a rather sizable lead, and level 20, it is right around the corner.
Yes, with that boss taken, that's going to apply a lot more split, pushing pressure across the map. They're checking to see if they're taking their golems. Yes, they are, but can they really do anything about it? Like we mentioned, we have even the double rewind for the 2 critterized polymorphs. So difficult to deal with. I think this is their stand.
This is it. This is what they have to make it happen. They are fighting versus a level 20 team, and the Metamorphosis immediately blows up Tyrande Uther.
That was very convincing. They executed that very quickly.
Probably game, actually. That was just so convincing. Glaurung does not have souls this time around. He will end up falling. That is 3 members down, and they can do whatever they like.
They already have the boss pushing in the bottom that has forced KO and Arthlon back already. They break down this wall. Cloud9 Maelstrom is marching in for the victory, and they're going to take a 2-1 victory over Tempo Storm.
Wow. What a game. I mean, Maelstrom has turned it on. We even said this yesterday. I tweeted it out. We were talking about it. Yeah. We said if Maelstrom plays like they did in day 1, this is their tournament to win. And they are now on match point to advance to the grand finals of the ESL playoffs in North America.
That's right. Convincing play, everything. It looks solid. Their positioning is always really on point. And honestly, they just did a really good job shutting down that aggression from Tyrande Diablo. I said, moving forward, they should not let them get that combo, but it just didn't end up panning out from almost that point forward. A little bit of a caster's curse, perhaps. I don't know. But it just didn't have the huge impact in the fights. They just weren't picking the right targets, I think.
Between Muradin, Illidan, their body blocking and their control and like a lot of choke points was ridiculous. And then you throw Emerald Wind on top of that. They just they just controlled, the pacing of the fights. They controlled everyone, locked out those damage dealers, and just eliminated them.
Yeah, the lockdown that Muradin and Brightwing can have with the polymorph and the storm bolts, especially even like the rewind. It's so much room for Illidan to get in and really start to put a lot of pressure on those priority backline targets.
And actually, you guys, we try to pull up these stats more and more. We can look at it after the fact. Look at how much of a crutch Jaina and Vala both were in that fight. K1 Pro sitting at 31,000. Vala also sitting at 31,000. None of the other damage are even really all that close in the rest of the game. So just that's why we see those heroes prioritized so frequently early in the draft.
Yeah, I'm trying to look back. At least for this series so far, those have been first 2 picks. Either, like one team is going to get one or the other.
For good reason.
Yeah, for very good reason. That damage output cannot be ignored.
All right, Koobs. Yes. I think it's time to set up that lobby.
It is. Let's get into game number 4. So we'll be back in just a few minutes, guys. Don't go anywhere, where we get to match point for Cloud9 Maelstrom in the winners finals of the ESL NA Major League playoffs.
Alrighty, guys, welcome back here to the ESL Major League Americas. I'm Solid Jake.
And I'm Kubi.
We're going into game number 4, match point for Maelstrom.
What's interesting is the map.
The map.
The map.
What map is it, Kubi?
It's Haunted Mines. Not played very often, or maybe only once during the group stage.
Let's step back a week. Let's look at Tekken Arena 2.
Okay.
Grand Finals.
Yep.
Little team called Temple Storm.
Yeah.
They happened to go to this map. They tried to run a push Asmodee style, and it did not work.
Oh, okay. Versus complexity?
Yes.
Okay. Yep, that didn't pan out. And then let's go back one more week.
Okay.
The match between, I think it was also complexity once again.
Yeah.
And Temple Storm. It was the final match of that series, and we had the toss, the famous toss.
100 Skull Golem.
100 Skull Golem.
They lost.
And they lost. So I will say this is a map that does not have the greatest.
There's got to be a mental, burden on them when it thinks, oh gosh, we're going to Haunted Mines. This is
so there's, you have to think about that, but you need to make sure that your strategies on all the maps they're solid moving forward from this point. You can't have these weak maps. Teams will exploit it. So they need to prove themselves, Temple Storm does. But they haven't had the greatest success in the past on this map. But the thing is, even if they win here, next map, Blackheart's Bay, that is the best map for Cloud9 Maelstrom.
It's true.
So taking this early lead, it was a big match, that last match that happened.
Do we know Curse was banned out?
I think so. Oh, maybe you're right about that.
Curse.
Okay,
so, maybe it was Blackhearts that was a ban.
Okay.
It's very possible that we'll actually confirm with CS Steve right now, our admin.
Yeah, while we wait for this draft to get back up. So, yeah, that could be it. But now that you mention it, it probably doesn't make sense for
Curse to be banned out. Yeah, I would be surprised if that was the case. If I was Tempo, I would have went out of my way to see if I could get Blackhearts banned out, and we will figure that out. But Haunted Mines will be the 4th map of this series. It is match point for Cloud9.
For Cloud9 Maelstrom to get into that nice spot in the grand finals. It's a huge advantage. You know that they're going to be pulling out all the stops to get here. Tempo Storm, first pick, first ban. Do we see the Rhaegar? Do we see the Illidan ban? What's going to be the case? ETC, perhaps? Probably one of those 3. I haven't seen any particular strategy for Cloud9 Maelstrom that's, we need to ban this hero. Not like we saw in the last series.
Yeah, that is
What?
gonna be
okay. All right, let's talk about that.
Okay, I like this just because of Vikings are actually ridiculous on this map.
They are really good.
They're actually just insane. A, you can go into the mines and clear all the skulls. B, you can just let them soak both lanes, send one into the mines, still have plenty of forces down there, and guess what? You're soaking 2 lanes and you're just steamrolling forward with more experience.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so we got confirmation from our admin. See, Steve tells us that Blackheart's Bay was the ban. So
okay.
I'm not really sure why I assumed for some reason that Curse. I don't know. Don't ask.
But Cursed would be the 5th map of this series, and that actually does mean that Temple Storm, although they have a history of very close losses on this map over the last couple weeks, this was their map pick over Cursed Hollow. So they could have something very specific in mind. And Maelstrom they're expecting something crazy, and they ban out Kerrigan. They're like, I don't know what you're trying to do. We're not dealing with Kerrigan. We know how formidable your entire team is with that hero.
These are the weirdest bans. They make sense, especially the Lost Vikings. The point you bring up is they're quite good on this map. Not going to deny that, but the Kerrigan, I feel like it's coming out of nowhere.
And until you look at that game out of Complexity a couple weeks ago, where they ran Tassadar, Tyrande, Kerrigan, I believe Diablo, and then maybe Vala, and it was we're just gonna roam around and kill you and dominate the
true.
map.
That's very true. But that's a completely different team.
True. Yes, that's actually a great point.
But that's why I say it feels like it's kind of out of left field. I'm not saying that Kerrigan doesn't have the potential to pull off this kind of pressure.
Right. I hear you.
And it is a lot of this map is about a race to level 4. We're going to see that if a team gets a good advantage doing that, you get dominance of the first set of mines. If you pick up a couple early kills, even zone out some experience, get a tower or 2, and you can get a half-level lead going up to level 4, gives you a huge advantage for that first set of mines, and that probably is the strongest map objective of all the maps, or the first one.
Yeah, yeah. All right, so Cloud9 opting for a Jaina. This will likely be a Vala Rhaegar unless they do have something really crazy in mind. Now, Vala Rhaegar, it gives you, I mean, Illidan Rhaegar is insane, and it gives you a really strong baseline. I like the fact that ETC was scrapped up, but still Diablo very strong in this kind of style.
Rhaegar does make the most sense. They could double healer. Do you think that's a possibility? Just have a lot of support for Illidan? Uther Rhaegar? It's because we have such strange bans. It's allowing these strategies to sort of get through the ban phase and the pick phase.
I would prefer to see Rhaegar Tassadar, something with more lane clear.
Okay. Yeah, lane clear is another big thing to mention. It's very likely going to be a 4-1 split. The 4 being in the lane that your golem pushes down, and whoever you leave on that off lane, they need to be good at wave clear and they need to be safe. Either Vala, either Tassadar, who has the dimensional shift, some way to escape if you get caught out a little bit. But it's all about that wave clear and just try to mitigate as much damage as possible.
Yeah. All right. Well, they're thinking hard about this. I mean, dipping into that bonus pool, these decisions can show a lot of their strategy right now.
They're taking their time with this one. Okay, Uther.
So they had to choose Uther or Rhaegar, and they opt for Uther. It's likely Divine Shield once again being just favored, and this could be a change of times where Uther, this new build, maybe he's more valuable than Rhaegar because he has that flexibility. How many compositions still run Bloodlust? Almost none.
Right.
And if you can have Divine Shield or Divine Storm, both huge picks.
Yeah, you sort of just take a quick glance at how the enemy team is composing themselves in team fights. And if it, you can make that snap decision. Okay, I actually think an AoE stun would get us a lot more value.
Yeah, very, very true. All right, now they have Jaina, they have ETC. There's a high chance they will pick up Rhaegar, but who knows at this point in time? We've seen Maelstrom use a lot of Brightwing in this series. Brightwing would be fine for this map. You have that stage dive and phase shift possibility. A lot of just getting across the map with 2 heroes.
Tyrande still available. I feel like Tyrande's going to be a strong pick, honestly, for either team. Like, I can't stress enough how important the early aggression is on this map. Getting that lead to level 4 and taking a very sizable advantage for that first golem, it sometimes really just completely dictates the entire rest of the match, and it's so difficult to come back from. So I think just pay attention to that as they continue to develop the rest of their hero compositions, and just keep that super early aggression in mind.
Yeah, and they are thinking hard about this. 22 seconds remain in that bonus pool. Both teams. This is such a pivotal match in the series. It's match point for Cloud9. They want to take it. They want to secure themselves that spot in the grand finals, and they are just using this. I mean, these next 2 picks can determine how the draft ends up. Rhaegar will be their hero. This resets the default timer. Their bonus pool is pretty much out. Do they complement it with Tassadar? What are they going to do here?
Tassadar, if they want to take a very passive stance to the map, but does that give too much leeway to Templestorm to really develop an aggressive playstyle?
It might.
They have to be careful with that. Yes, it's something if the map happens to go much later, it will pay off for them if they have a more passive strategy. This is what I'm looking at so far for Cloud9 Maelstrom is a composition that will work at a lot of levels. Early game, it will work even much through the late game. However, they got to stress that early game, and if you have one team that's heavily advantaged early and they hold that level lead throughout past level 10, that might just be game right there before they even get a chance to take that advantage back.
Wow. That's a defensive play.
Yeah.
Brightwing, Rhaegar, with a Jaina in ETC. Protect the Jaina right now.
Yeah.
She is their burst. Now, we talked about the global presence available for the 2, Brightwing and ETC. They have that later in the game. Phase shift, especially in early mines. If Brightwing dies, she will respawn very quickly. Phase shift back into the mines. Bam, back in action. So there's a lot of power to her on this map for those kind of positions, especially for the first mines.
Diablo Tyrande?
I like it. I like it,
really
but,
plays into that early aggression.
You also have to think about the options of stuff like Zeratul or Zagara. Zagara can push, and she's huge on this map. There she is, and she's very good at clearing the mines in general. So she provides vision, she provides push potential, and those Hydralisks, they can really just chase you out. But for this last pick, I mean, are they going tankless? Are they going Uther tank? It's not out of the realm of possibility. If there's a map to bust that out, it's here.
Very unlikely that it will be Stitches. Diablo, yes, that makes sense.
Okay.
There's some off chance for them to have gone Muradin or Chen.
They're liking the Diablo a lot, so they stick to that.
But keep in mind, this the rest of their composition isn't as aggressive as it could have been.
Correct? No, it's definitely a more standard composition.
Yep, for both teams.
Yeah.
Well, the double healer,
Brightwing Rhaegar is pretty uncommon, but that's defensive. It's almost like playing reactionary to like, okay, they're going to go crazy aggressive on us, and they're just like, let's just play safe, and that could work against them.
It could, yes. But I think the rest of Tempo Storm's picks probably gives a bit of relief to Maelstrom. And both teams are saying, let's play a real fair, honest Hanema. Not to say that the early aggression isn't fair, but it's a little bit more of a drawn-out game.
Keep it secret, keep it safe. Final pick is Kubi's girl.
That's right. Sonya. How does this play into the rest of the composition? Man, that's weird. I gotta be honest, it's a bit strange. What are they trying to do with this?
I mean, there's not a lot of targets that are just easy to dive on and blow up. Now, the dive between Heroic Leap, Stage Dive, and then the Blizzard complementing that, the potential of Brightwing phase shifting into that situation of polymorphing a target to eliminate it, certainly there. But we talk about early game aggression. Now, Sonya does have a lot of wave clear. She's good in the scenarios where she can sit in the mines, have that whirlwind go off. And in terms of stuns, they have Diablo and Uther, so there's quite a bit available.
Is this a mosh pit game?
It might be Coops.
Could be. Yeah, that's... We'll have to see how this pans out. There's just not a lot of... Yes, there's the double healer, of course, but there's not a lot of overall protection, I guess. Brightwing can always dash forward and Emerald Wind if that helps to split the team apart. I don't know. We'll see. But, I mean, Maelstrom has run Sonya to great success in the past, even earlier in this tournament. We'll have to see. I'm all for it. They want to show a new way to play Sonya. We've even seen some teams in the past running Wrath of the Berserker. That heroic. So, who knows? Who knows?
Well, we are about to start this game. The fourth game, match point for Maelstrom. The teams are just about ready. And Kubi,
the pressure is on Tempo Storm. They need to win this game to stay alive in the series to get to that Game 5 on Cursed Hollow. That's their best map. This is
Cursed is... it's actually a really good point. If they do secure this win, the final map of the series is something they're very comfortable with.
Right.
And that's where I hope we get it. I hope we get it. I really want Game 5 for all these series today. These teams are so evenly paired. And, yeah, Maelstrom, they've been looking great in this series. But, Tempo, the time is now. Because if you do not win here, you fall to phase 2 arc. Last night, the series we saw, oh my
It could have gone either way. And Tempo Storm, I think they're absolutely realizing that any of these teams could really just upset them. You know, I say upset, but Tempo Storm hasn't been as dominant as they've been over the past couple months. But they're still a very, very, very strong team, and we can't take that away from them.
If you look at the global rankings on most of the websites here, Tempo Storm is #1.
Yeah.
Like just because of the results they've had over a long period of time. They've been incredibly consistent. But game number 4, Haunted Mines is underway. About to be, at least.
So excited. All right, so Haunted Mines it's interesting. It's, I guess you consider it maybe the most snowbally of all the maps, but it's also the most different. It's a 2-lane map. There's an underground objective mechanic that's on like a completely separate map, and I always love to see what strategies these teams come up with to take the most of this weird style map. And yeah, it's probably a map that a lot of teams don't really want to practice or spend time practicing on, but especially this new tournament format with the no replaying of the same maps, it's something that I like to see that practice time rewarded.
Yeah. Well, we will see if it pays off. And introducing our teams on the blue side, we do have Cloud9 Maelstrom sitting at match point here in the winners finals with Dunk Train on Brightwing. Biceps playing Rhaegar ETC. played by King Caffeine K1 Pro. He's rocking his favorite hero, Jaina, and iDream, that's Kubi's favorite hero, Sonya.
That's right. And on the red side, for Tempo Storm, we have KO on Zagara. Arthlon is going to be playing Vala. Dreadnought on Uther. Soldier will be playing Illidan. And Glowring, of course, on Diablo.
Match point like we can't stress enough. Tempo Storm has to bring it back here, and we see Rancor on Vala. Very interesting to see that picked up. Typically, we see multi-shot builds for Vala with the remove of battle momentum. Does that make this auto tech style more popular? I mean, we're already starting to see it show up here and there.
Yeah, there's the potential for 2 imposing presence between Sonya and ETC. Something to keep in mind, of course. Cloud9 Maelstrom is going to be paying attention to these builds as we move forward. It may have something to do with this map. They feel, right, you need that defense DPS output like over a long period of time, over the course of 20 seconds. You're going to get probably more damage on that single target to defend against those terrors, or not terrors, but grave golems over that course of 20 seconds with an auto attack build. That could be the reasoning here.
Yeah, that's actually a great point. But it's weird because, oh, well, the Ancient Spirit does go in connecting with Arthlon, but just going to back out, respecting what they have available. It's just interesting because you consider lane clear as such a big,
it's true,
a big factor in this map.
But what do you get at level 1? You're looking at the extra range. I mean, you can still line those up. Yes, the arsenal, the extra grenades that get fired out at level 4, those are very nice, but it's not until you hit like level 13 with the frost shot that it really becomes super impactful in those team fights.
And man, on a small map like this, these scouting drones are going to get so much effectiveness across the map. Mines will spawn in about 24 seconds. So far, it's a very passive, respectful start to this game. No crazy aggression on either side.
So Tempo Storm trying to do the traditional 4-1 split in the lane of their golem. Maelstrom is actually opting to take the opposite. It's still a 4-1 split, but they're really defending.
Yes.
And I think that they feel very confident in their game past level 10, and they want to make sure that the game gets there on an even footing.
Right, and especially compositionally, you look at Zagara on the enemy side, and you have double supports on your side. Your early game push is not going to be as strong. But look at this, going into the mines, they're going to be all funneling into Cloud9, and this is really scary. Soldier gets blown up rather quickly. Glowring falling with rapid pace, and that's 2 for nothing. I can't believe they just dove in like that.
Yeah, that's the fastest way to just have every single member of Tempo Storm backed up against the wall with all that CC available to them. It gets scary, and it's very unfortunate. Perhaps they weren't expecting them to be there. I'm not sure. I don't know.
Yeah, interesting plays. Well, this is going to net a massive golem to Cloud9. Tempo just now re-entering the mines, but pretty much every single camp has been picked up. 52 skulls already, the majority in favor of Cloud9. They could just decide to leave at this point in time, but no, they want to get aggressive. They're diving towards KO, opting to back up. iDream has been a bit secluded here on the lower side by Soldier and Arthlon, and they're going to be able to get this kill.
Yeah.
But on the other side of the map, it looks like Tempo Storm is just going to be able to get the rest of the skulls in the mines.
They actually clean that up, and that was really important. I can't stress how much the first golem matters in terms of getting a sizable amount of push and really trying to continue your momentum through the map. And they had a 6-skull lead, jumping into a Cloud9 Maelstrom did. If they had won that team fight, we would be looking at a 90-plus skull golem, which is just a massive body that is just going to be thrown at your structures that you have to deal with. It takes so long. With the pressure that's also going to be applied on top from Cloud9 Maelstrom behind that, it gets real scary really fast.
I mean, really, Tempo Storm recovered.
They did.
Essentially.
Exactly.
The game is stabilized. They've got that relatively good golem. 40 skulls is plenty enough, and they do have an experience lead. So this game really normalizing right now. We're going to see these giants picked up. They will likely wait to cap them until the golems pass this wall here. Just about this marker is when you want to cap the golem to maximize its defensive capability, and they are going to do just that. Clairvoyance revealing the position, and that's why you saw Glowring consider stepping forward. He's like, are they actually here? And iDream also waiting to cap, standing on his carpet.
Yeah, the capping of the goat giants moving forward, they will actually stand just below those grave golems as they reach the enemy wall. This provides so much more safe damage output to defend against that. And actually, Tempo Storm getting very aggressive in the bottom lane, pretty much unanswered for Cloud9 Maelstrom.
Yeah, it's a lot of free aggression going in. Now the Golem is advantageous for the opposing side,
the rotation.
But it's not really that huge. But yes, like you mentioned, they're getting flanked hard, and Tempo realizes this. They're backing up, looking for that situation. Now Dread on the other side of his team, he's a hard target to kill. Biceps gets blown up very quickly. Still have Brightwing available. Dreadnought healing himself. He's gonna fall into his ghost form, but he is still in this fight with heals for a long time. And K1 Pro entering the mines, trying to get the safety. Gonna juke going back out of the mines. Not gonna be able to survive here.
Those are some huge kill pickups. Just the focus fire was more than enough to get one of their 2 healers out of that fight. Really just gave them a huge amount of momentum. They were able to kill Uther, but like we said, with those changes to Uther, the fight can only get worse at that point. Yeah, you're going to be able to pick up a hero kill, but the amount of heal and sustain that he gets when going into that ghost form can't be matched.
And their fort is down. Top Golem just made it here to the fort. Yeah. That's the advantage of having all the damage. I mean, the wall was pretty much gone before Tempo even arrived. And Dreadnought is not only helping defend this, but he's soaking the top lane. Knights will be picked up by Tempo Storm, but no, they're going to be forced back.
All of a sudden, this very aggressive play onto the bottom lane has proven to be very impactful for Tempo Storm. And Tempo Storm also gets the pickup on the Bruisers.
Yeah, and iDream getting dashed into the flip, and he will be blown up. Glaurung is taking a lot of damage, but the evasion going forward, the shields from his allies, and King Caffeine seems to be the target, but no, he will be able to get away.
They need to... Cloud9 needs to really back up and just... As hard as it is, because the mines force such a strong position, like you have to get in there and represent in the mines. There's no way around that. You will lose the game for this objective, and you will lose it fast. So they need to just try to get to that level 10 and try to reset the balance between the 2 teams in terms of how these fights have been going, because it's been all Tempo Storm. Some trades here and there, but like the amount of pressure that they put forward, both of the front forts are gone.
I mean, it's 8 to 10. This is a massive advantage. Yeah. We see Reign of Vengeance, Apocalypse, Divine Shield, and Maw. This is such a big power spike for them, especially fighting in close places. If you get hit by a Maw, the follow-up is going to be disgusting.
All right, so we actually haven't gotten too much of a chance to talk about the builds. We do see that Divine Shield once again. And this Vala build is actually somewhat of a split between an auto attack build and a multi-shot build.
This keep is gone.
It's going down. Just Brightwing is too far away. But also soaking. Yeah, that's a good point to bring up, and that is going to be a huge amount of pressure in the off lane, just something that Cloud9 is going to have to keep an eye on. And this is a very dominant position. We were not used to seeing Tempo Storm like having, super solid strategy on this map. Not to say that they're like, the worst on it here, but like usually the other teams are the ones that are catching them out of position. But they look really practiced here.
I mean, I gotta say, it looked shaky for about a minute.
Yeah.
And as soon as they turned that around, this game is just looking wonderful for them. Soldier gonna scout out the enemy team. He knows they've entered the top part of the mines. They're just trying to bully them back. These camps in the middle, they have the majority of the seeds. I believe it's 15 and 12 respectively, and they are going to capitalize on those, picking up those camps. Tempo is doing a nice job trying to spread out, collecting as much as possible. Look at that, Cloud9 is just really picking up those skulls rather quickly.
And actually, Illidan is being thrown outside. Will get the pickup onto King Caffeine. Very likely. He's just about probably 1 auto attack away. And that gives him a huge leg up to get a very heavily favored Golem in Tempo Storm's favor. 7 kills to 3. Still, they don't have those heroics. Cloud9 Maelstrom doesn't, and they desperately need them to hold this off. So they're going to probably just stay outside, continue to get that soak.
Yeah, I mean, Maelstrom, like you said, going to back up. No heroics, going to soak. No Knights available, but they're getting the offensive Giants. This is the best thing they can do right now. They can grab these offensive Giants, back up, and then grab their own Giants. Yeah. It's a small victory, but a larger Golem will be picked up. Now, the Golems were changed a bit in this last patch. They're a little bit weaker in terms of having a massive Golem. The effectiveness is not the same it used to be.
Good point to bring up.
And we actually have not cast a competitive match where that's been a big impact quite yet since this patch is so new. But we're going to actually see how that pans out. But 68 to 32, that's a sizable, Golem.
Dreadnought has already thrown down a Divine Shield, and a Reign of Vengeance was needed to keep Dreadnought alive. So some of these heroics have been spent. Of course, we do have the Water Elemental out, and the Leap as well. So some heroics have been traded. Just keep that in mind as the defense is... we're going to be seeing a lot of aggression, probably from Tempo Storm. Yes, they are moving in. Yeah, they really want to try to pick people off.
It's 2 for 2 in terms of cooldowns on heroics right now. And that golem is smacking away. Now it's dishing out a good amount of damage. The fort will fall. Clairvoyance just to reveal where anyone might be. And this much weaker golem is going to be able to power through the fort in the top lane. But man, Temple Storm, they've already got a keep down. If they get the second one here, they're going to be sitting in a great spot. But Soldier needs to be careful. Dashing forward, getting that first aid off. The heals come out from Uther, and he's staying alive. They keep getting very low. They're going to be successful in destroying it.
Yep, Metamorph is still available. That's going to be a good way for Soldier to escape if he gets himself into a little bit too much trouble. Still about half HP on this golem, and I think Tempo Storm, they're going for the throat. They want to get in there to get these kills.
The Soldier needs to be careful. There's that Divine Shield and the Metamorphosis Apocalypse heroically countering. They're going for Dread, but the Maw is picking up several targets. They're just unloading all of their damage onto this core. Ancestral Healing connecting, but does it matter? The core is falling oh so very quickly, and KO Soldier, they all live. Just X-Pecking over that core. Emerald Wind goes in, and that is gonna be game. We're going to game 5, Kubi.
That was fast. That was very convincing. Like everything, yeah. You mentioned those first 2 kills that happened outside, right by as soon as Temple Storm went into the mines. But right after that, they took 2 kills. They evened things back up. 60-40 golem to start, but just their map rotations were so solid.
Yeah, and the pressure they got on, like I mentioned this in the draft. Having double support on that map is weird. It's like if they had the control, the polymorph was nice to help deal with Illidan. It was nice. But having double support, they didn't ever have that blow-up potential. How are you going to kill Illidan when you have a Sonya and a Jaina for your damage? It's going to be very hard, and that was an uphill battle. They did manage to pick up a couple kills, but overall, the flexibility and the freedom that he had in those fights, especially once he had Metamorphosis, was beyond notable.
Yeah, that game they didn't really get a chance to showcase their team fight ability. Cloud9 after level 10, I think they were probably banking quite a bit that we need to really try to soak, as we'll take some losses here and there. I probably weren't expecting to lose that top keep so early, but hoping that they could get to level 10 on somewhat even footing, maybe not down a talent tier, and just showcase their ability to take fights from there. Yeah, if they can take a huge fight, they can really sweep the mines and get a 100-skull golem moving forward, but they just didn't get the opportunity to, and that game finished in 10 minutes.
I mean, that's what Mines is. Mines is just action-packed, but 10 minutes?
Yeah.
Typically it's like 15. 10 is actually insane. Right. So really, really crazy, just quick game number 4. That means we're going to game 5. Cursed Hollow, a map that Tempo Storm and Cloud9 are very familiar with.
Yes, absolutely. And it's going to be they're both very successful on this map. Both teams are. This is probably the most played map of all of the maps in the pool. Both teams are very comfortable on this map. They've developed a ton of strategies on it, and I think we're going to see an excellent Game 5 between these two teams, Cloud9 Maelstrom and Tempo Storm.
So we'll be back in just a few minutes, guys. Stay with us. Tell your friends. Get on social media. Alert everyone. We want to break those Heroes of the Storm viewership records. Back in just a couple minutes, guys. Stay tuned. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back here to the ESL Major League Americas. I am joined by the Kubi.
And I'm joined by Solid Jake.
Wow, so fancy, so fancy. Guys, we're going into game number 5, match point for both teams.
This is the 10th game for today, and it's only the second series. How awesome is that? Do we have these two teams, all 4 of these teams, just like so closely matched that every single of all the possible matches, I think we're missing one from the first series between Complexity and Cloud9 Maelstrom. So we've had 14 games total between 4 series. That's pretty awesome.
That's a lot.
And they've
of
all
games.
been really, really good games. Exciting, like different compositions, throwing like all these different kind of crazy strategies at everybody. Like some really aggressive games, more passive games, like tailoring these strategies to different maps. All of it's just really exciting to see it unfold right after all this new patch. So
really impressive games, just super back and forth for both teams. We're going to see if the draft is just about ready. And the teams, we have one team ready up, getting ready for that.
Yep.
This is match point. We can look at the bracket very quickly. Cloud9 and Templestorm, they're sitting here, winners finals, game 5. The team that wins this match will be going over to that grand finals position. The losing team falls to face 2ARC, who is playing so phenomenally
playing out
well.
of their minds.
They are. They really are. And then it's a grind. They have to play in the losers finals. If they manage to win their grand finals, and then they have to reset it again, that's a lot of games that you have to do. If you win here, not only you're guaranteed to get $1,000, but you get a break. To rest,
get a break,
to analyze. Yes,
it's so important. We can't stress that enough. How important that advantage is to have. And Jake just did us a favor, swapping over to that draft screen. Both these teams are ready to get into this draft, and they're moving quickly for this final game on Cursed Hollow.
No Illidan, no Rhaegar. Cloud9 knows Templestorm likes Uther. Do they pick him, or do they continue to prioritize that Jaina? K1 Pro is so formidable on that hero.
Good point. Actually doesn't show the map. I wonder what happened. Didn't input it, maybe?
Yeah, I guess they just forgot to select the map. It is Cursed Hollow.
Yeah, just keep that in mind, guys.
It is possible to just not select it on the draft, but this is, in fact, Cursed Hollow.
I think it's going to be Jaina.
Jaina.
I really do. It just fits into so many compositions now. Before it was, very particular because she kind of had to land all of her spells on single targets to really get that damage, but now she's got a little bit more leeway, especially getting that buff damage on all of her basic abilities.
Yeah, that is very true. And they've seen a lot of success. I mean, even before this patch, Jaina was a hero that they still liked to grab as often as possible. But now, Jaina, not only did she see the improvement in terms of just her kit in general, but her trait applies to structures, it applies to terrors, and it just makes her so much more powerful. But they do respect that Uther, and they snipe him.
I think that's a fun play. I love to see that kind of stuff, even if it's a hero that obviously they're very comfortable running Uther, but they weren't making it a mainstay in any of their strategies, whereas Templestorm was. Cloud9 respects that. They're taking that Uther away, and who knows, perhaps they're even going to try to run some kind of Divine Shield type of thing. I think it could work very well, even if they wanted to run it with Sonya. Of course, Illidan is banned out, but there are other heroes, Kerrigan as well. They can run these crazy types of strategies.
And well, they're thinking Templestorm. They've lost. This is the first time where we haven't seen them have either the Rhaegar or the Uther, as far as I can remember, in this entire tournament.
At least for this series. Yeah, they had they've had at least one of those two for this entire series, and now they're going to get none. Of course, even before this patch, they were playing Lili and Malfurion quite a bit, so they're very well versed in those two particular hero styles. For healing. Vala, standard. Could be Tassadar if they want to keep their picks neutral. And we've actually seen this between these two teams before when they've been drafting it out in like the finals of a tournament. They keep things incredibly neutral up until the very last moment. But there is that Jaina pick.
Yeah, so they just pick up 2 massive damage dealers. Cloud9 will likely just snag one of them and likely go for something like ETC. ETC on this map, having the global presence, the stage dive is more than valuable. It's when it comes to stealing a boss, stuff like that, it's huge. And this is a map where Templestorm, we've seen them run Chen time and time again. So I don't know if we'll see them go even close. I mean, unless they can get the Stitches Tyrande, I don't think they'll pick a tank into the last pick.
For either team? Or
for
Tempo
Storm. I think this is a good time for Maelstrom to try to snag ETC.
It makes sense, at least in the order of what we've been seeing heroes picked in the past. ETC pretty much picked within the first 3, if not banned out. Yeah. Very highly sought after hero. It would surprise me to see Cloud9 give that up. Just waiting it out. They are dipping into their pool really, really early. And we saw this actually in the last draft.
We did. They're thinking hard, using that pool. These first decisions are the most impactful ones on the draft. What do they lock in here? We're gonna find out within the next 7 seconds because time is running out.
Stitches.
And they're respecting the threat of the Stitches Tyrande paired with Jaina, and they grab it for themselves. And I really enjoy that pickup.
Yeah, they only run Stitches 1 game this series. Was it Cloud? And they won that game. That was on Garden of Terror. I don't think Stitches wasn't played any other games in the series. So they have, they've been the team that has had the most success with this combo in this tournament so far. I like them grabbing this. Uther just helps to exemplify that extra lockdown that they have onto the targets that get pulled in. No Jaina to get that ridiculous burst damage, but still, the Hunter's Mark, it will pair up with a lot of heroes.
It's true. It's true. Now, Tassadar.
Yeah, Tassadar, ETC.
That makes the most sense to me. I think just it's clean. It's safe, it's flexible, they have a very well-rounded composition, but we also know they really do enjoy Zagara. And if they go Tassadar, it makes it difficult to pick up Zagara. It comes down to preference. Do they want the additional support in vision? Or Zagara provides vision as well, but Zagara provides a bit more of an impact. And when you consider having ETC and then having the AoE damage of already Vala and Jaina, maybe the Maw is worth it.
Especially, I think Rain of Vengeance would make a lot of sense to follow up that heroic. But, I got to be honest. Of all the games we've watched today, I haven't seen any Maws that were wow factor where the follow-up's there. VP, yes. We've seen that in the past. So I would prefer to see that if that's the style that they're going for. Doesn't really, it can fit. Nazebo.
Okay. We're going to see some Gargantuan.
Very likely. Wow, that's just showing that how confident Tempo Storm is with this new strategy.
Yeah.
Running the Gargantuan. It's so weird for that. This is like their hero. We're talking about 2-Arc running this strange style with Tyrael. This seems to be Tempo Storm are the only people that are really playing Nazebo right now, and they're running Gargantuan.
And man, this is kind of one of those things. We're at game 5. How do you win? How do you throw your opponent off? You pick things like this.
Yeah.
If they're not accustomed to facing that Gargantuan, it could be a big thing. But oh no, we saw how good iDream's Lost Vikings is. His ability to just be everywhere at once and control them without rarely ever losing one of them. It's gonna be. Whenever I see him on Vikings, I get scared for the opposing team.
You get scared. He's probably hands down the best Vikings player right now. Like we mentioned before, Cloud9 Maelstrom is the only team that's really running Vikings consistently and to great success. So much so that there was even a ban last game. Haunted Mines, of course, Vikings are really good on Haunted Mines. We talked about some of the reasons, but still, there's been a ban. And the one game that they played Lost Vikings in this set, Falstad. They like the red beards, man.
This is giving them some of that global presence. They've got the fly. They've got the red beards.
They do have red
and they
beards.
have the damage. We've seen the Hinterlands Blast in the past, specifically from Maelstrom. Really change fights a lot. But
yeah, it was going to come down to Malfurion or Lily. I would even say there's no one really that's necessary to prioritize Polyon. We don't really see that much Brightwing.
I was thinking more of a Blink Kill Brightwing.
Okay, yeah. I mean, that could work. Not completely out of the question. We have seen them play more Malfurion and even Lily in this tournament.
Wow.
What a draft.
This is different. This is now considering the control on the field. Roots, zombie walls, slows from Jaina, They have a lot of control over that battlefield, and they have a lot of lockdown. The hook, Lunar Flare, the hook, stun, and Uther, also on the table, and that's going to be a big part of this game. Can Cloud9 get those hooks?
They have. The thing is with Hinterland's Blast, you have to. There's a startup to it. Okay, enough of a startup that the Lunar Flare has to be on point, and you have to really be listening for the sound of something that gets hooked. And let me look at this really quick. Is there anything that could get hooked that's not a hero? Zombie Wall? If Malf goes to Treant, I don't think that's going to happen.
No.
Water
Elemental in theory. Elemental. But that's about it. And the Vikings are on the side of the Stitches. So frequently when Stitches is picked up, we see opposing sides picking up Lost Vikings. And that's not going to be the case. Having both on one side also gives you that longboat freight in the team fights.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's a lot of it's going to come down to that Stitches pull and whether or not the Hinterland's Blast is on point, but they have to be so careful. Yes, the Lunar Flare will give that stun time. Also, Uther, I should follow up with that as well. If Uther is nearby and can follow up in addition to that Lunar Flare and make sure that the chain stun is there, that's more than enough time for Falstad to really get the lineup.
Yeah, especially if he goes a W build, because the W build hits really hard if you can get all those shots off.
Sure.
So we'll see what kind of styles we see. The teams are just making sure they're perfectly ready before we hop into Game 5. There's so much on the line.
This is Game 5, Winners Finals. ESL NA Major League Playoffs. Please, guys, tweet it out. This is so important. This is probably the most important match we've seen in Heroes to date.
It is. This biggest prize pool. Biggest event. Pool. They've been competing for 7 weeks to qualify just to be part of this event. The stakes are high.
I can't believe it. Thanks you guys for tuning in, checking this out. It's been a fun ride so far, but I can only imagine that the matches are going to get even better from here on out. All of these series go into Game 5 with the exception of the very first one played yesterday, but still, they've just been some grueling back and forth sets between these two teams. I love it. Just so good.
Just really a high-level play. We're starting to see very, team-oriented bans throughout these series. Zeratul been banned out a lot. Even Kerrigan bans in the earlier series today. This 5th game on Cursed Hollow, it's actually like the best-case scenario because this is the most neutral map. This is the first map that saw a lot of popularity in competitive play. It's the traditional tri-lane in a lot of ways. In that mechanic, the double bosses, it's just all over the place.
I think we actually lost someone out of the lobby. So, maybe not. It was just a glitch. I don't know.
Yeah, it's been bugged out actually all day. Right. We noticed it the first time, and it's been consistent. So
okay.
Just a little graphical error on our end.
Times.
So we are in Cursed Hollow. Is going to be the final game today. Koopy,
my goodness.
I got to ask you.
Yeah.
In terms of drafts, who do you think has the edge?
All right, give me a second here. Give me a second. ETC. Stitches Tyrande. It's so hard to say. Cloud9 has been very on point with the Stitches play. They've been making those games work, not overextending too far with Stitches even after the health nerf. With the false stat, I feel like Cloud9 has a slight edge in the draft.
Koopy gives the edge to Cloud9. I'm going to give the edge to Tempo Storm because I like this crazy Nazeebo play, and they have the damage. But let us introduce those guys. With Arthalon, he's playing Jaina. Sitting side settle, we got Soldier playing Vala. Dreadnought on Malfurion. KO playing Nazeebo, and rounding it out is going to be ETC played by Clourung.
And let's shift on over to the red side for Cloud9 Maelstrom. We have K1 Pro on Falstad. Dunk Train's going to be playing Tyrande. King Caffeine on Stitches. Biceps on Uther. And I Dream on the dreaded Lost Vikings.
Look at them go. Eric is just going to make it there to the middle. He won the race, but unfortunately, that's not the objective of the game. The objective is to destroy your enemy team's base. And let us pull up those talents. Scouting drone from Malfurion yet again. I'm loving this new change to the talent, becoming very popular just to have that vision across the map. And there's so many good locations like this. And look at all the information they just got.
Yep. They knew that they were picking up some particular location to try to get those early ganks between the three. That's so much stun power with the mark being thrown down onto that target. It's just so much time for them to isolate those targets and blow them up.
He just puts it down once again. They will take the time to remove it, but still, it's constantly going to be a lot of vision provided for the team.
Absolutely. All right, so what else do we have at level 1? Power Throw So not opting for either the bribe or the barrel roll upgrade that we have seen in the past for power throw. That is the extra 40% range on the hammer, so keep an eye on that. That just provides him a little bit more safety, because they are absolutely afraid of that ETC, that moving in and just punishing those backline damage dealers.
And there goes a hook. It connects with a minion, but that's something they have to constantly be aware of, because the Lunar Flare, Hunter's Mark follow-up of Dunk Train, well, if there's anyone that's known for Tyrande, I would have to say that's Dunk Train.
Yeah, absolutely. Those Lunar Flares are always so on point. And all right, yeah, both teams with the scouting drone. I think, Cloud9 and Maelstrom, they're really just looking to capitalize on that early game aggression.
Yeah, and you can see that, but the scouting drone is really helping thwart a lot of those attempts. And the Sentinel did reveal that last one, but Biceps just kind of hanging out, making sure he soaks that lane, and they're considering trying to put some potential roam onto the middle, keeping the aggression spread out. They never know where he's going to be. Dread is going to see Dunk Train, just back up, dodge the hook. Ooh. Nicely done.
That was a close one. Yeah, and KO and Arthlon are both very, very squishy targets that can, they just don't have the escapes. On top of that, really just the zombie wall and the slows for Arthlon. But, until they hit level 13 with that sprint, they have to be super aware of their positioning in relation to Stitches and that hook.
Yeah, man. Every single time the scouting drone goes down, it gets blown up. Jaina opting for Envenom, the spider cluster, starting to pick up popularity because of the changes that have been made.
Yeah. And we were tracking the last time they played Nazeebo how much damage output, and he was trailing only a couple thousand behind Fala,
which is impressive.
Yeah, still making it work, especially with Gidbin. The spiders last 25% longer. The synergy is there.
Yet another. They're pinging it. The second those hordes go down, they're aware. The hook connecting with a minion once more, and this bottom tribute. Looks like ETC is not going to leave. Falstad does fly down. Vikings are able to soak middle and top. They're just going to be utilizing the mobility that they have, and this is going to be a 4v4 in the bottom lane.
Yeah, and we actually aren't really seeing the trust, I guess, between Dunk Train and King Caffeine. The last couple hooks that he's thrown down, they haven't had the Lunar Flare follow-up. I don't know if they've gotten to the point where they can hear the sound of that hook grab and still pull, but King Caffeine is actually getting pushed back, and the positional advantage heavily going in favor of Tempo Storm.
That was close. Now, they did lose Soak for a fair amount of time, so yes, the first tribute does go to Tempo Storm, but Cloud9, they've got that advantage that the Vikings grant. They're even getting a fair amount of push with this, just lack of a hero in the top lane.
And the Lost Vikings are still roaming around in this mid lane, or between these two lanes here. And we're just going to have to pay attention to see what kind of effectiveness they get out of this, and especially when those tributes pop up, how they rotate between the lanes just to try to keep that experience lead. Because, although that tribute did go to the first, they're still holding strong in that experience and is pretty much dead even.
Yeah, very close game right now. The second tribute spawning this time in the top half of the map, and we'll see what Tempo Storm decides to do. They're just putting that down. They know that when they roam, there could be a gank potential waiting for them, and this is just providing safety. Doesn't look like they have much of an intent. Okay, now they mount up, so they stay a while. They show that they may be wanting to hang out, but there is going to be a bit of a engagement here. Yes, they both just dismount. Arthalon and KO, they're trying to slow down their approach to this top tribute. Glaurung is going to get hooked in and blown up.
Yeah, he didn't have the opportunity to escape there, and it looks as though this second tribute will very likely go in favor of Cloud9 Maelstrom. Both teams just hit level 7. We mentioned that Gidbin, so important. And just throwing out some zoning abilities with the spiders. Those are going to be annoying, especially with the 25% extra duration. But they're soaking them up.
Yeah, the Vikings are soaking bottom and top.
That's a big deal.
They're soaking up all those minions. So this experience lead is just slowly but surely going ahead of Maelstrom. And then when it comes to getting level 10 first, they are well on their way to that.
Absolutely. Let's take a look. Oh, first aid taken for Falstad. Not a very common pick. Often we'll see perhaps a secret weapon, which is that extra auto attack damage that is thrown down perhaps while the hammer is out. There's boomerang. There's a lot of options there. First aid, not all that common of a pick. We do have that gathering power. That's just going to really feed into that burst ability that Falstad will have that will play into that Stitches hook.
Yeah, very true. But getting these bottom towers, that's the kind of thing that's going to slowly help Tempo Storm maintain a bit of an experience edge, at least prevent them from getting too far ahead. The next tribute, it's not a curse, it's number 3, currently 1-1.
Yep.
It's not crucial for either side, and I think Tempo should just sit back, soak, and make sure they hit level 10.
Yeah, because the ability to stall this tribute out is going to heavily go in the favor of Cloud9 Maelstrom with those the Vikings. They can leave one down there, and they can continue to soak while posturing for this tribute. And they're actually going to take the second one. They'll have the advantage. They'll have the card to play for that third tribute or the next tribute that spawns. It's going to mean a curse for Cloud9 Maelstrom.
Yeah, if they do get the next one, but both teams will have level 10 before the next curse does hit. Just kind of running through everything at level 7. I mean, it's pretty standard stuff. Frostbitten, the Enduring Growth, a very healing-oriented Malfurion in this game. Level 10 did just get reached by both teams.
And we see that Hinterland's Blast as we expected, the Longboat Raid, Putrid Bile, Divine Storm, and Starfall. Okay. More or less what we would expect for those heroics. And yeah, Gargantuan once again.
There he is. He's been changed quite a bit in this last patch.
Yep.
Basically, the Ravenous Spirit received a few nerfs, and Gargantuan has much more damage. It's got a smaller health pool, but you can now activate the Slam rather than going off at random.
Absolutely. So, also, the casting AoE does a little bit more damage and has a bit less health. So we'll see its effectiveness in fights, which was pretty much nothing before because no one ever grabbed the talent, to now, where it seems to be really doing some work. It's just a presence in the fight that you have to run away from, kind of like what we might see for Ultralisk on Kerrigan, which has been used in the past to sort of zone out damage dealers.
Now, I like this aggression, trying to zone out K1 Pro, but he has to be careful from those hooks. Stage dive going in from Glaurung, and this is separating half the team apart. There is that Gargantuan wailing away in King Caffeine, the roots locking him into place, and they're trying to blow it up, even opting to just keep it alive. Tyrande did end up falling. Biceps is very low, will fall, so that is 2 for 1 in favor of Tempo Storm. Hook going out onto Dreadnought. He's going to be a hard target to kill, and Gargantuan will finally expire. The Lost Vikings, they've come up. They still have the Longboat Raid, and you know what? Tempo stopped the boss pickup. They took the advantage of kills, and the experience is now dead even.
That's a very, very good point to make. Actually, it was pretty funny when Glaurung stage dive in. He happened to land exactly on the roots for the boss. As soon as he stage dived in, he got rooted. And like sometimes when you throw that stage dive in, you have a plan. Okay, I'm going to stage dive and immediately dash forward to lock out this target. And no, that was not going to be the case. And actually, Dreadnought throwing down the scouting drone with a root onto King Caffeine, sort of just putting a stop to his little plan.
Oh.
Still gets the hook. No block attempt. Oh, but the Hunter's Mark is down. The root hits with the Lunar Flare. Is forced to pop Tranquility.
Yeah, the Trank is there, but that forces that Putrid Bile on both sides. But Glaurung gets on the other side of Bicep, zoning him up, picking up a really nice kill. And that Gargantuan, the cooldown is so low. Once again, he's just going in, having a party, slamming it down, and they even hook it because they know the damage output available from that. And that's spending a lot of talents to take it out.
Absolutely. Okay, so this is going to put swing things back in the favor. So 2 for 2 tribute-wise, but they're all the way across the map. Are they going to see a full rotation to the bottom lane? Do we have the stage dive up? Not quite. No, it's just about now. So they can use it if they think that they're going to be down there. Capitalizing on this bottom tribute. It's 2 for 2 right now. The next one means curse.
And I like that they're buying time, forcing out that stage dive to try to stop Eric from casting that. Very nicely done, but now they don't have their tank here in the middle of the map. KO is taking so much damage. One more hit will pretty much secure his demise, but the healing ward and the heal over time is enough. But Soldier now being caught off.
Soldier got a little bit too greedy, trying to get the kill onto Dunk Train, dashed forward.
Did Hinterland Blast connect with? He must have.
Yeah.
He must have got him.
That's 2 quick kills. Wow, what a turnaround for Cloud9 Maelstrom. This game is just completely back and forth, but that is going to be, also a curse for Tempo Storm. So during all this time, yeah, ETC wasn't really in the fight because he had to stage dive down to stop that. He was able to at the very least pick up the tribute at the cost of 2 kills for the rest of his team.
I like this aggressive posture. They're not looking to get a boss, they're looking to get a kill. K1 Pro is their target, but he does have that fast escape, and it will, in fact, be enough for him to get out. This is going to have, oh my goodness, with Arthlon, that was just used. He's gonna, one more hit is all it takes from ETC, but not even needed. There is the Frostbolt picking up the kill. Giants being scooped up in the bottom. Curse netted 1 for death.
Yes, and they're going to be continuing to put that pressure up top, but the presence is mid. They should be able to cut their losses at this point. It's coming down to mercenary camp pressure, and they are taking the boss.
Yeah, this is actually a really good situation, but they're well aware of this. That Lunar Flare just going out, completely dodged by the team. Eric walking in, the rest of the Vikings on their way. Boss very low.
Be close. Can they get in there to stop it? No, iDream gets popped off with the loudspeakers.
And oh my goodness, the damage is going down. iDream is getting very low with his Eric. Heat will fall. We see Baylog getting hit by the slam being used, and there's the stage dive. Longboat Raid is forced out as a reaction, but the health pool is so much lower because it's just the single Viking. Falls very quickly. The Gargantuan dishing out so much damage. The hook connects with Dreadnought, and that's a blow
big.
up.
That is big. Up until this point, that aggression was really just buying time for this golem to push the top lane, but now that they have gotten that kill, that really forces Tempo Storm back. This gives time for Cloud9 Maelstrom to go up to the top lane to sort of cut their losses here and really try to save this keep in the top lane. But this also, again, buys time. It's so back and forth how all these advantages play into each other, but now Tempo Storm has the position to really try to capture their own golem.
Oh my goodness, the Lunar Flare does connect with Arthlon and Starfall to help zone them and split them up. This gives times for both the Eric and ETC to make his way on in. Soldier and Glowering, they're backing up this boss.
I can't believe they were able to get Tempo Storm to back up, but the hero disadvantage. Yes, Falstad is defending that boss, but at any time he can fly back over and also assist in this fight. And wow, Cloud9 Maelstrom, that was a really nice defense.
Okay, Dreadnought needs to be so careful here. The hook could come out. Eric is going forward with Olaf. And this is a really tight spot. Putrid Bile is going to get a lot done, but the strafe is hitting Biceps, blowing him up so very quickly. The Healing Ward in a beautiful position right now. We see Olaf taking a lot of damage. The Longboat Raid is still on cooldown for a few seconds, now available.
Hentoan Blast hits its mark onto Vala, eliminating her out of the fight. They're going to be a 2-for-1, or at least some of the Vikings. Just one of the Vikings was actually killed off, but still, they have to deal with this boss. Any amount of time that was spent during that fight was beneficial for Cloud9 Maelstrom in terms of structure damage.
This game is actually so back and forth. Cloud9 has taken the experience lead, hitting level 16. Looking at those talents, we see the Fishing Hook, we see the Shooting Star, Norse Force, and Benediction once again. Uther seems to be the common pickup in this current build.
This is the big level 16 for Cloud9 Maelstrom. That Benediction with the double stun, the Fishing Hook, the overdrive for Falstad to have even more damage output to throw for that Hinterland's Blast. Huge talents. And what do we have for the Tempo Storm side? We see that Numbing Cold, which is the root on for Jaina's targets that are hit with that Cone of Cold. The Leaping Spiders, a little bit more survivability for ETC, opting not to go for that imposing presence, the Blood for Blood. And Malfurion is probably going to go for Hardened Focus, perhaps.
Yeah, but this is a curse for Cloud9. Their first curse of the game, picking up that tribute, and they do have a 1-level advantage. Tempo Storm needs to be very wary of those hooks that could come out, but really, they're just opting to get the split push across the map, pushing in, soaking up those lanes. 1 fort down. Top fort will fall. Middle fort currently being defended.
Yeah, and they're just they realize that they're not going to be able to defend both forts at once. iDream actually going to potentially lose his Olaf here, yes, and there's that root that we were talking about at level 16 for Jaina. They were able to pick up, small victory, just backing up some of the pressure from these lost Vikings.
And those scouting drones are doing so much right now. Stitches goes into one of those places that are very common for big hooks, especially in that middle lane, and there's just a scouting drone waiting for him. Yeah, very huge.
Really trying to mitigate the strength of Stitches on this map, and we know it also well. Even when Stitches wasn't picked all that often, he was still picked frequently on this map in particular because of its layout. How many little nooks and crannies there are for Stitches to hide in to really get that. And the stage dive being thrown down, this initiates the start of the fight.
Putrid Bile has been used, but the damage dealers of Tempo Storm are a little late to this fight. The Hinterland Blast just barely dodged by Glowering. The healing, the Tranquility is keeping Glowering alive. I can't believe how close he was to death, but they are going to be able to turn around and reinitiate. The hook barely dodged. The Lunar Flare was thrown out, respecting it, even a just preemptive ice block because Dreadnought was not actually sure of his safety there. Glowering taps the well, and Tempo Storm can re-engage, but all the heroics except for Longboat Raid and Strafe are on cooldown.
That was a cry. I can't believe no one died during that fight, especially considering how far forward the Vikings were to try to pick up that kill onto ETC, which really would have given Cloud9 Maelstrom a huge amount of momentum moving forward to give that chase. They had so much ground to cover to try to get all the way back to their keep to safety. That probably could have netted them a couple more kills, but not going to be the case here. What is going to be the next move for both of these teams?
I like this aggressive positioning by Cloud9. Actually, the sense kind of reveals it, but doesn't matter because Jaina has gone into the frozen depths of the ground.
Buried 6 feet under, and Arthlon, Yeah, that's unfortunate, the positioning there, but those are the kinds of plays that you need to make as a Stitches player to keep him effective in this meta. Those hooks are now becoming very, very important with the nerfs that Stitches has seen, but that is really making a case for why Stitches is still so powerful.
And it's like the double synergy. Throw the Sentinel out to get vision.
Yeah.
The hook then follows up, and then the Lunar Flare connects at the end of the hook. So much synergy with those two heroes.
Yeah, it just melted instantly with the rest of the team following up. And now they have this pressure. They take down the wall in the bottom lane. Cloud9 Maelstrom, with that pickup, bought themselves a ton of time to keep roaming around the map. They're for sure going to be able to take this top boss if they want to.
But look at the positioning on the scouting.
Yeah, of course.
It is.
But can they do anything about
it?
Can Temple Storm do anything about it? They're so far behind, actually. It looks as though the Vikings are just going to continue scouting out, and they're opting just to take this tribute. They're setting up for a party push? They are.
They are sitting up for a party bush, but they're going to realize that Temple Storm is just playing it safe. They pick up those Giants. They're going to see that notification on the map that the Giants have been grabbed, and they are making their way to the boss. Now, the scouting drones have expired at this point in time. Looking for that hook again! Oh my goodness, Soldier is going to be eliminated. These hooks, we talked about it. That's how you win with Stitches.
Yeah, they're really making a case for Stitches. I guess revival, not that he really went anywhere, but with this best patch, all of the changes to him, they're really making him look strong, and all of these hooks are just so on point. I was saying today, we haven't really seen Stitches hooks that have made huge impacts on the game. These are the huge impacts they need. This is how you're going to win Game 5. This is how you get to grand finals of the ESL NA Major League.
Man, those Vikings, they're soaking. They come in, they steal this boss. Level 20 has been reached. Everything is lining up for Cloud9. They're sitting in such a great position in this game. Temple Storm has rotated around and followed down for another 10 seconds. They're going to try to contest this tribute, but it won't be long before Cloud9 rotates up.
And it looks as though Temple Storm is really... Wow, they're actually going to make a dive onto this keep to try to get rid of it. That will put them at a bit of a structured lead. They are going to have that golem pressing down onto the bottom keep for Temple Storm's side. But they've actually net themselves a little bit of position. They say, okay, they're going to take their golem. We are going to push across the map and to great effect. They also actually have Eric out of position. North Forest.
Not worth sticking around to try to kill that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just really smart play playing the map here by Temple Storm. Starfall goes off by Dunk Train. This is very aggressive. The rest of the team is lagging far behind. Kind of a waste of a heroic, but it's pushing them back and allowing them to pick up yet another boss. Now this boss is dealing a lot to the keep. Not going to quite get it, but it's very vulnerable at this point in time.
Very good point. Yeah, they did throw down that. Also, they forced Sprint to be used for Jaina too. So although it probably won't end up impacting the next team fight, just a nice little win. Just gives you a bit more safety. They know that Jaina, if a fight does brew, she has to be very careful, even more so with her positioning.
But at this point, if Temple Storm, they don't have 20, and they can't really contest this curse all that safely without 20. This tribute will give curse if it is picked up. Sentinel is blocked by Malfurion, but we do have Balog running on in just to throw down one auto attack before backing up. And Temple Storm says, look, it's not worth throwing this over this. They're going to have to defend a curse with a boss pushing down top lane.
Yeah, I'd like that the zombie wall to preemptively put up to try to block the hook that they figure was inevitably coming. It didn't end up being thrown down, and with this curse and the boss, this is going to be so difficult to defend. We have that level 20. I mean, that's revive on Uther, protective or hardened shield for Stitches. They're going for it. They want to finish this.
Yeah, I mean, you just all hands onto that core, dish out as much damage as possible. Arthlon dealing what she can. They're forcing them back. King Caffeine taking a lot of damage. The hardened shield being used. That is going to wear off in just 1 second. And yes, the second hit of that and the Water Elemental bullying them back. Still, 20 has not been reached by Temple Storm.
It's you want to say that the right move for them at this point is to back up and play safely. But they can't. They have to defend this. They want to wait till level 20. We see that the hook is being thrown. Glaurung not really the best targets, but still force them to expend some of their cooldowns.
All right, this is huge. Temple Storm has had a rock-solid defense up to this point in time. They're right around the corner from level 20. One more wave of minions will net them that, and Maelstrom is backing up. They're respecting this, cleaning up towers. It's pushing their lead further forward. But still, Temple,
that's a lot of bolts.
They have defended rather well so far.
That's a lot of bolts to the Storm, Jake.
Oh my goodness, let's pull those up. Oh!
That's some mobility,
5 bolts of the Storm. I don't know if I've ever seen that. In fact, I know I haven't ever seen that. And the hook connects onto Glaurung,
there it is.
Who does use the first bolt. 4 to go. Going in. Putrid Bile going off, and there is that Gargantuan starting to dish out as much damage as they can, but they're focusing it down very quickly.
Yeah, that's a couple heroics that have been spent, but we still have Stage Dive. We still have Strafe and Tranquility. That's a big deal, but Glaurung picked and hooked once again. The Divine Storm and Stun is going to be more than enough to get him out. iDream on the Lost Vikings, getting aggressive. You still have the Longboat Raid if you need it. He actually backs up with very little amount of HP between the three of them. This might be the cue for Cloud9 Maelstrom to get aggressive to take out this last keep, second to last keep for Tempo Storm.
This keep is going down.
That's big.
This keep is going down. Another bolt being used. That's the
Hydralin
Blast! That should be game for Cloud9. The defense is going to have to be insane. Arthalon bolting away from the Longboat Raid, even using Sprint to get out of that. Tempo Storm is completely scrambled. The keep has fallen. The hook does not connect, but they have every reason to continue pushing on in.
Yes, Arthalon being forced to hearth back as Jaina from a little bit further out. We see that the Tranquility is popped for Dreadnought, and the Putrid Bile being thrown down.
That Blizzard is huge, though, doing some damage. Norse Force comes out for the Vikings to keep them alive. Using that jump, they're staying alive for so long. Tempo Storm is actually defending rather well. ETC will be up in 7 seconds. I really can't believe it. KO, though, gets blown up. One Viking down. The rest of them are staying alive.
But they're still scrambling so much. King Caffeine so low in mana. Dunk Train really low. I think they're going to back up, and actually with that bolt, they're getting very aggressive. Dreadnought now in a really bad position. Forced to pop the ice block. Does it keep him alive long enough? Not quite. And now we have 3 members of Tempo Storm down. 4.
That's gonna be it. Cloud9 will advance to the grand finals. Congratulations. Tempo Storm will fall to rematch 2 Arc. We saw an incredible series last night.
Ridiculous set of games, but I gotta give it to King Caffeine with the hooks. They were incredibly on point with the follow-up for the rest of the team. It was just every time they were able to pick squishy targets. The 2 hooks that went down onto Arthalon and Bala were just such pacemakers. And from that point forward, they were just able to take a huge amount of map objectives, really just keep that stranglehold on the map super solid for them. And they rode that momentum forward through victory. And now they find themselves in the grand finals of the ESL NA Major League Playoffs.
Kubi. These games are going to be the end of me. It's too good. It's actually just